Ashley, can you hear me?
Council Olson, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Good evening. Would like to thank everybody for attending in person and online. We are convened as the Loveland City Council regular meeting. We begin our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask all who are able to please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Could we have an attendance report out, please?
Madam Mayor, there are 8 members present.
Thank you. We have 3 proclamations, which are going to start off our meeting today. The first proclamation is for our Poet Laureate. We have Veronica Beth receiving, and Councilor Sampson will read that proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All right. Just ran in the nick of time in my heels, so please excuse if I'm a little out of breath. Haven't ran in heels in a while. Whereas April is National Poetry Month, and whereas poetry is a way to bring the community together through our artistic expression, and whereas poetry helps to make sense of the world in which we live, lending a feeling of belonging to a community and to the world at large. And whereas studies show that children who read poetry show improvements in vocabulary, critical analytical skills, and reading comprehension. And whereas reading and writing poetry give children and adults alike an outlet for their feelings, experiences, and emotions. And whereas Loveland citizens seek to appoint Loveland's own Poet Laureate to raise awareness and appreciation of reading, writing, and listening to poetry, further elevating poetry as a true art form in Loveland. And whereas the Cultural Services Department and the Loveland Public Library support the creation of the Loveland Poet Laureate Program. And whereas the Cultural Services Board and the Library Board have endorsed the new Citizen Program, which is to be governed by the Poet Laureate Committee. And whereas Veronica Patterson has been an outstanding advocate for poetry, literacy, and literature, promoting programs and events that illustrate the value of literature and poetry in Loveland and throughout the state of Colorado. And whereas Veronica Patterson has been recognized by the Poet Laureate Committee as Loveland's first Poet Laureate. And whereas we affirm that all future Loveland Poet Laureates to be chosen every 2 years, which was delayed 1 year due to COVID challenges, by the committee will be acknowledged as recipients of Loveland's Veronica Patterson Poet Laureate Award. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of Loveland, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Loveland Poetry Month and ratify the selection of the Loveland's new Poet Laureate, E.A. Beth. I should have practiced this one. Beth, are you here? Okay, great. Beth L. and I hope you will tell us so I can respectfully pronounce your name as the recipient of the Veronica Patterson Poet Laureate Award. Signed this 15th day of April 2025, Jackie Marsh, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Okay, council members, we need somebody to take a photo since Councilor Olson is remote. All right, but okay. Come on up, and everybody that's going to receive it, you want to kind of take a photo here.
Hi.
Veronica, before you say a few words, we take a photo up here. So is there anybody else with you?
Oh, okay.
been waiting his whole life to say that.
I'll take a couple off you as portrait. You got more? Anybody else coming? There you go. I can. All right. They're like family heirlooms, right? All right. Portrait here. We're working. All right, there we go.
Now we'll hear from Veronica.
I'll send these pictures to you.
Veronica, you may want to lower the microphone a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Sure. I am introducing myself as Veronica Patterson, the first poet laureate in Loveland, and but Lynn Kincannon is in Florida, with taking part in her older brother's birthday party, which is a wonderful thing to do. So, what I know about Beth is that she has a Bachelor of Arts, 1981, a Master of Arts, 1985. She has a paid work history with Hewlett-Packard, Colorado State University, instructor from 2003 to 2020. And Second Letter LLC is for writing, editing, and education through today. She's been a member of the Poet Laureate Board of Directors, and she has done huge work reaching out through the Youth Outreach Committee and the Loveland Poet Laureate Board of Directors. Here's one of the things that she said about poetry in her application. Poetry is the revelation of a feeling that the poet believes to be the interior and personal, which the reader recognizes as his own. Salvatore Quasimodo from a speech in New York, quoted in the New York Times. We are now, the Loveland Poet Laureate Program is now a 501c3 nonprofit. We offer workshops, author readings, outreach to students, and we reach, I think, both the head and the heart, and that poets and poetry are essential to a healthy society.
Thank you, Veronica.
And this is Beth's book, Catchments.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
Beth?
I'll take just a minute or so more. One of our most successful programs is indeed our outreach to the schools. We have had a high school poetry contest for 6 years now, and this year we are adding middle school as well, and we have begun doing workshops in the elementary school too. So we're very, very proud of that. And I want to read to you, before I read a poem of my own, I would like to read to you a few lines from a poem that some students wrote for us recently. We went in, did a workshop, we gave them several example poems. One was called I Love, and it was, I love this, I love that, I love the other thing. And their teacher took them away, and 4 or 5 days later, we got this wonderful poem via email, and it's, I'm going to read just 4 lines out of it. I learned to see and describe detail in simple things. I created knowledge in my brain. I liked the silliness you brought to writing poems. Thank you for helping us imagine. It was wonderful proof that they did indeed learn some things. And now I have this, and leave this with you. Acceptance speech on becoming the Veronica Patterson Loveland Poet Laureate number 3. The poet laureate, never miss, it starts with a little epigraph, never miss a good chance to shut up. Will Rogers, I thought that you might especially appreciate that. Many panic when confronted with the spelling of it, laureate. As with my surname too, Leckleitner. So we are perfect mates. Always a phonetic or mnemonic to remember, related to Laurel. Laurie at the dais. Or is it lariat? That which Will Rogers spun to an art, rope, and words? A laureate does strive to lasso words by their hocks, pull them in, arrange them so they make sense or nonsense, strings of words to crack open the world. A laureate is a fool of words, standing with court jesters among the minstrels, the versifier in a retinue of kings, councils. Although in the tradition of the moniker, this laureate will eschew invectives in favor of praise and awe. So appointed, I step into this ring of fragrant bay, embrace the honor, and raise the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. We're not allowed to have champagne in chambers. Thank you. Our second proclamation is Neurodiagnostic Week. Amira will be receiving, and Councilor Foley will be reading the proclamation.
All right, it's been a while since I've done a proclamation. Whereas neurodiagnostics is the practice of analyzing and monitoring central and peripheral nervous system functions to promote the effective treatment of the neurological disease, injury, and impairment. And whereas neurodiagnostic technicians play a paramount role in the diagnosis and treatment of a variety of neurological conditions, including epilepsy, unexplained coma, sleep disorders, and spinal cord injuries. And whereas neurodiagnostic technicians continue or contribute to surgical treatment by monitoring the central and peripheral nervous systems during high-risk procedures such as surgery for scoliosis, carotid artery disease, brain tumors, and spine trauma, thereby guarding against neurological complications during surgery and helping to reduce the risk of negative surgical outcomes such as paralysis or stroke. And whereas neurodiagnostic technicians are engaged in lifelong learning, dedicated to a life of service and compassion, have the greatest respect for the worth and dignity of individuals, and are devoted to the best interests of the patient while providing the highest quality patient care. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of Loveland, do hereby proclaim April 21st through the 26th, 2025, as Neurodiagnostic Week in the City of Loveland. Signed this day, 15th of April, 2025, Jackie Marsh, Mayor.
And now I need another counselor to take this photo. We need another counselor to take the photo since today. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
On my camera in case it breaks.
No.
Mira, all right. Mira, would you like to say a few words? All right, thank you.
My name is Amira Mizrahi. I am the EEG, or the Neurodiagnostic Lab Supervisor and the Clinical Educator at the Medical Center of the Rockies in Loveland. I want to thank you so much, and I truly appreciate the City of Loveland for recognizing what we do for work and our field. This means a lot to us and to our patients and the patients we serve. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, and our third and final proclamation is Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month. Doug, Leslie, and Rick will receive, and Councilor Mallow will read that proclamation.
All right, they arrived. Whereas Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month help provide a deeper understanding of the diversity of our uniquely local and American heritage, and whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing the livability of communities across America, and whereas Colorado Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month provides an opportunity for people of all ages and from all walks of life to make the connection between historic preservation and the aesthetic, environmental, and economic well-being of the communities, and whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as people, and whereas the National Historic Preservation Act has had a profound impact on Loveland and Colorado as a whole by encouraging heritage tourism and by contributing to the revitalization and recognition of significant places that honor the diverse cultural, agricultural, natural, and built environments of our community, and whereas local history and historic preservation related events are planned, including media outreach, information at the library display case, a presentation on historic structures, and local business participation in the historic downtown Loveland area in May. Now, therefore, we, the City Council and the City of Loveland, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month in the City of Loveland and call upon the people of Loveland to recognize and participate in this special observance. In recognition of Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month, we would like to honor all the buildings and sites in Loveland that are on the National Register of Historic Places, Colorado State Register of Historic Places, and Loveland Historic Register. Signed this 15th day of April 2025, Jackie Marsh, Mayor.
So Doug and group, come on up and we'll get a photo and then we'll give you the microphone. Marianne, thank you for being here as well. Yeah. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Doug Lutley, Ward 2, Vice Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. This proclamation is important for the people of Loveland because a people without knowledge of their past history, origins, or culture is like a tree without roots, forever being blown to and fro by whatever wind is present at the moment, never having the ability to establish stability, might, or significance. What we do on the Historic Preservation Commission is an attempt to provide and preserve that knowledge for the Loveland community in order to grow a community's roots. We thank you for this proclamation, Mayor and Council, for dedicating the month of May to recognize and honor these attempts and endeavors. Additional comments by Leslie Wasson and Rick Hazel.
Thank you, Rick Hazel. As we begin to celebrate the Historic Preservation Month, we honor the significance of preserving our cultural heritage and the importance of archaeology and understanding our collective past. Archaeology is more than just uncovering ancient artifacts and ruins. It's about reconstructing the stories of our ancestors, learning from their triumphs and their struggles, and gaining a deeper understanding of the complexities of human societies. By studying the past, we gain the valuable insight into the present and the future. Archaeology helps us understand how past civilizations adapted to environmental changes, developed technologies, and interacted with one another. These lessons can inform our responses today, such as climate change, sustainability, and cultural exchange. Right here in Loveland, and more recently, we're seeing a fantastic example of historic preservation in action, the Great Western Railroad Depot. A beloved landmark and a piece of our city's history has been donated to the city by Omnitrax and has just recently been relocated on our city's own land. This incredible project not only ensured the depot's preservation, but also opened up new possibilities for community engagement, education, and tourism. The Loveland Historical Society has been working tirelessly to save this depot since 2017, and their efforts are a testament to the power of community, collaboration, dedication, and to preserving our cultural heritage. The depot's preservation is a win-win for our community. Not only will it provide a unique opportunity for visitors to experience the charm of a bygone era, but will also serve as a community space in the future, showcasing our city's rich railroad history. This project demonstrates the importance of preserving our cultural heritage and the impact it can have on our community identity, economy, and sense of place.
I'm Leslie Wasson, Ward 3. Madam Mayor, council members, respected neighbors. And that's not all. There are a number of activities to which you are all cordially and enthusiastically invited in the coming month of Historic Preservation Month. We're excited to announce a whole month of events and activities. At the library, you'll find a display case showcasing our registered buildings, programs, and design guidelines for the entire month of May. On May 6th, please join us at the Rialto for the Kenneth Jessen Talk, History Lost, History Saved, which highlights examples of how well Larimer County has done in saving its historic structures. You can also take a historic walking tour or explore our historic church tours. All these events can be found on our Historic Preservation webpage. These events and activities are a great way to learn about and engage with our community's rich history. By preserving our cultural heritage, we can build stronger communities, promote cultural understanding, and create brighter future. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the proclamation signed by Mayor Marsh recognizing Historic Preservation Month in our community. This historical recognition highlights the value of preserving our cultural heritage and historic landmarks. We appreciate the City Council's commitment to safeguarding Loveland's rich history and cultural identity. We'd also like to extend our gratitude to Council Liaison John Mallow for his dedication and support, as well as for attending meetings and advocating for historic preservation initiatives. Your efforts are genuinely appreciated, and we're grateful for your involvement in preserving our community's history and culture. I'd also like to recognize Marian Duran, our most excellent city planning liaison person, for her dedication and her organizing skills for this group of ducks. In conclusion, Historic Preservation Month is a time to celebrate our community's rich history and cultural heritage. With the proclamation in place, we can build on this momentum to continue preserving and celebrating our community's history. Thank you, Mayor Marsh, City Council, Council Liaison John Mallow, and Ms. Duran for your support and commitment to Historic Preservation Month.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our proclamations. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to procedural information. This meeting is subject to and incorporates by reference this evening's City of Loveland agenda, including without limitation all policies, rules, and procedural and legal statements therein. Detailed procedures for the conduct of City Council regular and special meetings will be incorporated into each agenda and available online and at the meeting for members of the public, but will not be read aloud. We now move on to council comment. This is an opportunity for council members to address the community on any subject, limited to one round with a maximum of 2 minutes per member. I'm looking for lights, and okay, Councilor Foley.
Thank you. I just wanted to give an update on the efforts to work at celebrating our 4th of July Independence Day celebration. And one of the action items that I have right now is that it's my understanding that the city manager has the ability to set up a charitable contribution fund that can be earmarked, and it can basically allow council to set forth an initiative that people can donate to into that fund. And if council sets that as to what it is, there is the ability that it can be a tax deductible donation as well. And so the thought process, the vision that I have with this is that once that fund is set up, that periodically we could put out in the utility bill, for example, a QR code with that initiative on it, like Save Independence Day, and consider donating, and it's a tax deductible, potentially a tax deductible donation that can go into that. That, just thinking about this from the roughly 40,000 meter holders, if everybody donated $10, we could raise 400 grand in a month. That would more than save Independence Day by doing that. So we're waiting to get that fund set up, and just to kind of give council a little bit of an idea, we may not be able to get anything done for this year, but remember, next year is the 250th, and I want to rock it. So I want to make sure that we have the mechanism set up to make that happen. So just to throw that out there.
All right, thank you, Councilor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm requesting a point of personal privilege. I have a comment to make, but it's closer to 3 minutes than 2, and I'm wondering if the council will allow me without objection to fulfill my statement time.
I'm seeing nods, so go ahead. Oh, sorry, I'm seeing nods of approval, so go ahead. And
thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council. Good evening, Loveland residents. This recall effort began the day after I was elected in 2023 and is nothing more than another politically motivated smear campaign by a small conservative disgruntled group calling themselves Rule, who created a battle plan to take me and other councilors out by any means necessary, essentially overturning the will of the voters. The incident at the park is being taken out of context and exaggerated for political gain. It's a tactic, not the truth. And let's be clear, this is not about my performance or commitment to the people of Loveland. There is no pattern of conduct. It's about my conduct always being held to a higher standard than any of my fellow male counselors who frequently yell, curse, bang things on the desk, directly disrespect staff and members of our public, all without consequence or outcry by this Rule group or by other counselors. Duran's aggressive posturing with me began the very week I was elected. This is when I first noticed his quest to silence and smear me to colleagues and prevent me from holding the LPD accountable to oversight and transparency. He then lodged a discrimination and harassment complaint against me out of retaliation for asking for the release of internal affairs investigation reports. All accusations made by Duran regarding me are false and therefore should not be used to show a pattern of behavior. Evidence proves Duran's gross misconduct. He lied during his interview during the investigation. He also had a hard copy of the infamous report the very night it was leaked to the press and other people of interest. He's been trying to suppress multiple LPD officer internal affairs investigations from being released to the public using every suppression technique available. When his tactics failed, he ramped up and he used his authority and connections with other law enforcement and the public to maliciously intimidate by smearing me and claiming to be a victim, going so far as describing himself as Karen Garner.
Point of order.
This has made my life very
Point of order,
dangerous.
Mayor. Point of order.
No, thank
State,
you.
hold on, stop the clock, please. Please state your point of order.
Well, it is my belief that we're often reminded by Councilor Black herself not to infer other people's intent. And I have yet to hear Councilor Black say it's her opinion. Instead, everything is being stated as fact, and it's very derogatory against one of our staff members. So I would like her to please stop.
Councilor Sampson.
Hold
And I
on,
object to
Councilor
her
Black.
point of personal
And
privilege.
so I'm going to ask our city attorney, because this one's a little bit of I don't know what to even call it, because this is council comment where we say that councilors can discuss anything, and yet it was a 3-minute point of privilege. Do the rules not apply during the council comment is my question. Or do our rules of procedure apply even during public comment? Because Councilor Sampson is correct, we do not try to infer somebody's intent or meaning, because you can't know somebody's heart.
So, well, first of all, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Madam Mayor, the answer to that question, in my view, is the rules of procedure for the council are applicable once the meeting is called to order. They wouldn't be suspended for council comment, and as such, the rules would otherwise be applicable.
All right, thank you for that. And so your point of order is well taken, Councilor Black.
Thank you, Mayor.
Please do not infer intent or meaning behind others' actions or words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This has made my life very dangerous. This transcends politics and is way past typical HR issues. A lot of Duran's claims that I hate Christians and that I publicly said that he was a white nationalist is 100% false. It has incited hatred toward me from fellow counselors, current and former law enforcement, and a lot of nasty, vulgar, homophobic, misogynistic, violent men that want to put me in my place.
Okay, and so Councilor Black, now your 3 minutes is up. So
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can finish up during public comment. Thank you for the time.
All right, thank you. We will move on to Councilor Sampson. Your light was on for. Okay, do you want, you're letting Councilor Olson go first, or you want, that's fine by me, I just had seen your light on. Councilor Olson, this is like the 2-minute council comment period.
Thank you, Mayor. So what we've heard tonight is not an apology for behavior by a particular counselor, but justification for her actions. An insinuation that there's been a plot all along since she was elected to try to unseat her. She says she has proof. She's made numerous accusations about the behavior of others. And so, Councilor Black, I ask you to provide that proof. You say you have proof, well, let's provide it. There were a lot of accusations that were made that are, without proof. They're just statements that are really an opinion. So if you've got proof, then I call upon you to prove that. And I will go through the video and I will make a list of questions of very specific things, accusations you made, and ask you to provide that proof. I think you should apologize to the people for taking the time out of a public meeting to justify a pattern of repeated bad behavior. This has not been anybody but your fault. You are the one that has to answer for this. Nobody caused this except yourself. You're responsible for you. We are not responsible for yourself. We're not responsible for you. We're responsible for our own actions. And so I would say it's embarrassing. For crying out loud, you have taken time out of the meeting to justify really bad actions. And
You
so
started
I call you
rule.
on this.
You started
Okay,
rule.
Counselor Black,
did that.
Counselor Black, Counselor Olson has the floor. Okay, I think you probably have 5 seconds left for Counselor Olson.
Well, I'll relent to
Okay.
my 5 seconds.
All right, thank you, Counselor Sampson.
Thank you. So I had something to say other than to address Councillor Black because I'm tired of the time that's being wasted on this issue. But I will just quickly state that I'm saddened and humiliated by the time being spent on these actions and behaviors by Councillor Black, that 7 of our 8 council members have denounced. So much of the time that we have spent, should be spending doing business of the city is being spent discussing behavior that is clearly egregious and not representative of our city nor of our council. It is of my opinion the statements by Councillor Black this evening and those defending her are gaslighting. There is a pattern of behavior, in my opinion, not just by Councillor Black, but by all of those in support of her. So that being said, I want to go back to talking about fireworks. So there is a website called America250.org because next year is America's 250th birthday and Colorado's 150th birthday. So I know I had an opportunity to speak with our city manager. We have monthly one-on-one meetings with our city manager where we just get to tell him everything on our mind, and he just has to sit quietly, listen, and write things down. I don't know if you write what I'm saying or if you're just doodling, but it looks professional, it looks real, so I buy it. No, I know you're writing what I'm saying. And so I had, Councilor Foley and I have both expressed concern about the fireworks, and especially for next year. Councilor Foley's taken it into his own hands to really make sure that that action, happens, that we get our fireworks for next year, and our city manager is well aware of this concern and has also said that the city will be working on this for next year, especially in light of the celebration, and it's going to be momentous. I mean, none of us here will never celebrate the 350th. We may not celebrate the 300th, right? I mean, this is a pretty big deal. So very exciting. Check out America250.org to get some ideas. Maybe you want to write into the city or talk to us at public comment about, what you'd like to see next year at the celebration. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Counselor Light-Kovach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Some of you may know that I am the liaison for the Youth Advisory Commission. And when we have seniors graduating, we have to do interviews for new members. And I'd like to take a moment to share my experience participating in this year's Youth Advisory Commission interviews. I have to say, I was profoundly impressed by the caliber of our applicants. These young people spoke with clarity and with purpose, offering responses that were polished, but not rehearsed, that were authentic from the heart. And what stood out most was their motivation for applying. We asked each of them why they wanted to be on Youth Advisory Commission. They're not just looking for something to put on their resume, they're seeking leadership opportunities, a voice in their local government, and most of all, a chance to learn. All of them spoke at length about how they want to learn more about the city of Loveland, about local government, about how to be a good leader, about how to govern. They want to understand how our city functions, how decisions are made, and they want to do all of this in ways that are collaborative, productive, and positive. We had far more applicants than we had openings for, which was also a great problem to have, and it made our decision process incredibly difficult. But the students carried themselves with the confidence and insight of seasoned adult professionals, not like high school students. It left me feeling incredibly hopeful for the future of our community, and I know a lot of them said they watched city council meetings, so I just want to thank all of the applicants. You all did an amazing job, and I'm very proud to be your counselor on City Council. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I don't see any other lights on, so we'll move on to public comment. Anyone who wishes to speak to an item not on the regular agenda section of the agenda may address the council at this time. Any member of the public may request that an item on the consent agenda labeled as quasi-judicial be placed on the regular agenda for discussion and public comment or testimony. Only residents of Larimer County, persons owning property in Loveland, or persons with a stated business interest in Loveland shall participate in public comment. Public comment is intended to provide citizens with an opportunity to address council directly. We encourage speakers to give public comment in a manner that promotes civil discourse. Generally, council will not respond to public comment other than to seek clarification of the matter raised and defer such matter to the city manager for review and resolution. We have a number of people that signed up in advance, so we will begin with those. Our first person who signed up in advance is Bethany Bodie, followed by Tracy Taylor. Bethany, are you here? Come on forward. And you want to come on, you may want to lower that microphone and give us your city of residence and your name, please.
Hi, my name is Bethany Bodie, and I'm a resident of Loveland, speaking on behalf of the Loveland Public Library Board.
Okay.
In 2024, Loveland residents paid on average $54.50 to support the Loveland Public Library. The return on investment for this $54.50 is extensive. First, the Loveland Public Library offers subscriptions to Career Online High School. The program offers adult students the opportunity to virtually earn a high school diploma with career focus such as healthcare or office management. This is not a GED program. Currently, 12 students are enrolled with 11 alumni who have seen their earning potential increase by an average of $9,000 per year. Second, the library helps people save money by providing free access to digital and physical resources. In 2024, we saved our cardholders an estimated $250 each. For a senior on a fixed income, this means access to books, videos, board games without sacrificing funds for essentials. Third, over 1,200 children and teens participated in the library's summer learning program, engaging in activities, reading for prizes, and enjoying a safe space. With a record high 44% completion rate, the program helped combat the summer slide, preventing learning loss in reading and math. Shared reading time with caregivers strengthens vocabulary and literacy skills, while the program also supports low-income families by providing free, structured activities. This bridges the equity gap in summer learning, keeping kids engaged and easing financial strain on parents. Fourth, the library strengthens local businesses. Our business librarian provided 663 hours of expert assistance, including consultations, market research, and consumer data to 122 entrepreneurs, small businesses, and nonprofits. Through partnerships with the Loveland Economic Development Office and the Loveland Business Development Center, these services, valued at over $27,000, contribute to a thriving small business community. Finally, the library serves as a vital partner to local organizations. In 2024, we collaborated with more than 45 community partners from Larimer County Workforce to the Loveland Opera, ensuring their services reach those who need them most. For every dollar invested in public libraries in Colorado, approximately $5 is returned to the community, according to a study by the Library Research Service. This impact includes local expenditures, money spent by the library on goods and services within the community, staff compensation, salaries and wages that support local employment, and halo spending, purchases made by patrons at nearby businesses when visiting the library. In 2024, the Loveland Public Library generated a total community return on investment of over $16 million. Last week, we celebrated Library Appreciation Week, and it's the perfect time to reflect on the value our library brings to Loveland. Whether it's supporting education, fostering economic growth, or providing essential services, the library is more than just a place for books. It's a cornerstone of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any lights on? So Tracy Taylor, followed by Patricia Talene.
Tracy Taylor, Ward 4. Good evening. I am here to speak about the lawlessness that is running rampant throughout Loveland, Fort Collins, and the rest of Larimer County. Our district attorney was an absolute failure in his first term, yet several of you endorsed him for his re-election and even offered rave reviews, which are posted online to this very day. I realize that the safety of our communities is not directly your job, but the fact that you put your names behind the weakest district attorney we have ever had calls into question your choices. Surely you believe in protecting victims, do you not? You believe in protecting our children, do you not? Did you know that in Loveland alone in 2024, there were over 30 reported cases of children being sexually assaulted and the DA decided not to file charges? A CORA request has been submitted to the DA's office requesting all data for all felony, no-file cases across the entire county. If Loveland had 30, how many do you think there will be across the entire district? Did you know that there are many cases of domestic violence where us female victims are left with no justice? We have to go through the process of reliving the horror in order to help build the case, only to have the DA plea deal the charges down to almost nothing. For these women, it's like being victimized again. What about the murder in Loveland on November 1st of last year, where the suspect had been arrested just 3 weeks prior for assaulting a poor woman in a Loveland park? When police arrived, he assaulted them as well. He received 2 felony 4 and 2 felony 5 charges, and just days later, the DA requested only a 2-signature PR bond. The judge added in a $250 financial requirement to the bond, and just like that, he was out of jail and back on the streets. 2 weeks later, he killed his own mother in her home in Loveland. That man's name was Michael Fuller, and his mother, Tony Fuller, a victim of domestic violence, would be alive today had Gordon McLaughlin done his job. So what will City Council do now? Will you continue to support our DA because he belongs to the same political party as several of you? Or will you side with the dozens of victims that he and his office have ignored, failed, and victimized a second time? I beg you to use your influence and request that Gordon McLaughlin step down as District Attorney of the 8th Judicial District. Your citizens deserve better, and it is your responsibility to defend them. You can go to recallgordon.com to learn more.
Thank you, Tracy. There's any lights on? Patricia Tallene. Okay, no clapping or making any kind of noise inside chambers. Patricia Tallene, followed by Sabrina Herrick.
How's that? Is that good?
Yep, that is. Thank you.
My name is Patricia Tallene. I live in Fort Collins. On January 24th of 2023, my precious only child was killed at work. He was working part-time in the evenings as a fueler at the transport bus maintenance facility on Trilby Road. He was run over and killed by a fellow employee driving a city bus. The driver was visually impaired and known to have night blindness brought on by double cataracts in both eyes. This was confirmed by several of the killer's fellow employees. Even though the city is immune to any liability, individual employees can be liable for their own negligent or careless acts. There were eyewitness statements and volumes of clear video of the incident showing my son in clear view walking towards the bus when the killer suddenly jerked the bus and swerved directly into my son's path. Gordon McLaughlin inexplicably chose not to charge my son's killer. Gordon would not even issue so much as a driving ticket for my son's murder. The killer should never have been driving a megaton bus at night, and against all CDL training and common sense, he should never have run over my son twice. Yes, the killer ran over my son twice. The rules of operation state that if you hit an object, you stop, get out, and see what you hit. The killer, in his own words, said that he had said to himself, "What the hell did I just hit?" But instead of stopping to get out and check, the killer proceeded to back over whatever he had just hit. It was my son. Independent expert reports showed that the initial impact may not have been fatal, that it was the second impact that caused the fatality. Almost a year after the killer ran over my son, he had cataract surgery on both eyes. Just prior to our hearing, the motion to compel prosecution, Gordon and Judge Ellison refused to allow any witness testimony at the hearing. Why would Gordon protect the killer? This incident is a perfect example of careless and negligent driving. The killer knew his visual impairment but chose to drive in spite of that. The DA's office received many emails demanding justice, and all of these emails were ignored. Gordon's comment was that he did not feel confident that he could win in court. Winning is never a guarantee, but in the case of murder, it is his job to try. He is a weak DA, and his lack of interest in pursuing justice is a disgrace. His practices are inconsistent and self-serving. My son never got the justice he deserved, and that's on Gordon McLaughlin. If you support justice for crime victims, go to recallgordon.com and pledge to sign the petition.
All right, thank you. Let's see, Sabrina Herrick, followed by Barbara Chury.
Hello, my name is Sabrina Herrick. I'm from Fort Collins. I'm also here in favor of recalling and replacing Gordon McLaughlin with a DA who cares about victims of crime. The recall petition can't start quite yet, but I encourage all of you to go to recallgordon.com and fill out a pledge to sign the petition. Since politics here seems spicy tonight, I'll mention I'm a registered Democrat. This is a bipartisan movement and issue. My daughter is one of the 11 autistic children abused by Tyler Zanella, who is a paraprofessional working for Poudre School District. My daughter was one of the so-called lucky victims in that case. She only got pinched, slapped, kicked, and insulted and needed therapy. Other children faced death threats and racial epithets, were hit with cell phones and shoes, and had their heads slammed into windows. One child had to be scanned for broken bones and bleeding on the brain. Over 95% of the 164 charges were based on 3 months of security footage, but there's evidence that the abuse was happening the entire school year. Gordon McLaughlin and his staff failed us in multiple ways. DA staff promised the families would have a say in Zanella's plea deal, then wrote it behind our backs. They cut 164 charges down to 11, acted like we should be grateful it was that many, and claimed a jury was too stupid to convict on video evidence. Zanella will likely get out of prison when some of his victims are still in middle school. When I shared my opinion on what the plea deal should be, our victim's advocate laughed in my face. She also later told me that no contest pleas only exist on TV and in civil court. When I contacted her boss and said, I don't trust our victim's advocate to advocate for us and want a new one assigned to us, I was told that doing so would be inconvenient and that advocating for victims isn't actually the victim advocate's job. Early on in the process, we were told our children couldn't testify due to age and nonverbal status, and that we parents didn't even have to attend court if we didn't want to. But by sentencing, some parents were telling the judge, please accept the plea deal, I don't want to put my kid through a trial. I still want to know why that change happened. Gordon McLaughlin ignored my email request that he work with his staff to create a better plea deal, instead turning up to sentencing to tell the media he was glad he could bring the community closure. He later went on social media and thanked his team for their hard work securing the maximum consecutive sentences on the plea deal, failing to mention that the case was so cut and dry that the judge had implied that justice would be lynching Zanella, not throwing him in prison. This is my experience with McLaughlin's take on justice for victims: lies, manipulations, and political blustering. Tonight I stand with a group of victims who believe that if the public knew that McLaughlin's failings, they would not have reelected him. I ask you to stand for justice for victims of crime and go to recallgordon.com and pledge your support to replace Gordon McLaughlin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, clarifying
I do.
question?
Yeah,
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, and I'm so sorry for what happened to your child. I
Thank
can't
you.
even fathom. You said there was 164 charges originally, and then it was dropped to 11, and then that was the success, I guess, was based on the 11. Is that how that worked out?
Yes, so it was originally 164 charges. He pled to 11 counts as part of a plea deal, and the judge did maximum consecutive sentences on those, including maximum parole time.
Okay, all right. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Barbara Chury, followed by Kalina Middleton.
Barbara Sherry, Ward 3. Mayor Marsh, City Council members, City Attorney Jungles, City Manager Thompson, friends and neighbors. I'm going to make an aside here. I will be one of the persons signing this recall for this Attorney General. During the summer and fall of '72, I lived on the south side of Chicago. Part of that time, I lived on the streets. Of the other young people I knew, the fellows got work at the day labor places, slept in cheap hotels, and ate in small eating establishments near their work. We gals didn't have that option. In daily Chicago, at least on the south side, there was a 10 o'clock curfew. Everyone off the streets and out of the parks. No chance of climbing a tree with huge limbs and passing the night off the ground and out of sight. At places to stay, like the Salvation Army shelter and the Pacific Garden Missions and others, we had to arrive by 5 o'clock. Once in, you lost your bed if you left the premises. Persons using alcohol or drugs were not admitted. Of course, you were required to speak with a social worker or a counselor in the morning. If we want to help folks on the street in Larimer County, I suggest at the minimum that I suggested at the minimum what I received in daily Chicago. One was a secure place to spend one night where other occupants are not high on drugs or alcohol. Men and women had secured separate accommodations. A safe place for one's valuables for that night. And guidance to address one's present reality, thereby encouraging each one to take responsibility for his or her own future. Oh yes, I forgot one more thing. A police-enforced prohibition on sleeping on the street or in the parks, and no drunk and disorderly conduct. And by the way, I definitely am in favor of the rezoning suggested by Councilor Olson with regard to possible shelters in Loveland.
Thank you, Barbara. Kalina Middleton, followed by Connie Luke.
Good evening, council members, Madam Mayor. In City Council's last public meeting, I addressed the concerns of Erin Black's unprofessional behavior. Erin stated that she is not going to change. She's going to continue to intimidate and discriminate, retaliate, whatever she was doing. She's going to keep doing to those that do it to her. I cannot believe you guys have not adopted a code of conduct yet. Year after year after year, there's been no public trust in any member. Everybody's been questioned and criticized. It's not that difficult to set a code of conduct. You all have this body here has already signed one when you went to the National League Cities this past year. You could use that one. You all affirmed it. I got off of what I was going to say because I'm so angry at Erin and what she had to say. She attempted to apologize in a letter submitted almost 2 weeks after the incident in question. It was a complete insult to all of us, the community and all of you, especially to Dylan. She took no responsibility whatever, and she continues not to. Her lengthy vapidity of discussing her dismays with the LPD and the couple of people that yelled at her in the past in her political journey is not a defense, it is not justification, and it is not an apology. According to her, throughout the letter she spews words like acknowledge, recognize, accountability, professionalism, civility, and transparency without actually being or doing any of those. According to her, These traits are something that are a balancing act with room for growth. They are not. You either have them or you don't. She was not elected to a character building class. City council is not a garden for someone to blossom into a responsible person, a respectable person. As council for a whole, I'm at a loss. I've done a little bit of research, and I've learned that it's not all about Erin. It's been other people in the past. So what does it take to get you to adopt a code of conduct? Thank you.
Thank you, Kalina. Yes, a clarifying question from Councilor Sampson.
Hi.
Thank you for your comment. I don't know, did you know that, I think it was maybe even Councilor Black initially who was encouraging the code of conduct.
I saw her.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my ask of you is, because we all sit here trying to figure out how to handle something we'd never wanted to deal with, what is your belief that a code of conduct would do for us? And I mean this
It would
genuinely
hold
because I'd like to
each and
know.
every one of you accountable.
And then we would enforce it how?
I think that it should have consequences.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. I just was curious what your thoughts are.
My thoughts are it should have, we the people should not have to pay for your misconduct.
That makes sense.
So multiple violations of harassment, let's say, should require the removal of that person.
I see. Okay.
And you hold yourselves accountable. Because nobody else can police you, right? City manager can't.
Correct.
City attorney can't, so who else is going to police you?
Yeah,
Yes,
Kalina,
thank you. Thank you for
Kalina,
explaining
thank
that. I
you.
appreciate it.
Okay,
I really do.
thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you. Please, quiet in chambers. Connie Luke, followed by Alan Caldwell.
Good evening, Council. Connie Luke, Ward 4. Correcting the definition of the UDC shelter locations is a good first step. Can you hear me? Okay. Is a good first step towards setting realistic homeless shelter standards for Loveland. Thank you to Councilors Foley, Mallow, McFall, Olson, and Sampson for standing up and doing your job. Shelters that attract and eject people because of unsafe behavior or illegal drugs are every bit as impactful to public health and safety as restaurants, and therefore require standards and controls in line with what we do with restaurants. As we saw with North Lincoln PUD, applicant-defined requirements can easily be ignored when they're inconvenient. Not locating near residential was a requirement for the task force. That was ignored, and worse yet, justified with the argument that low-income housing across the street did not count. The city should not have accepted that PUD for that location. You heard loud and clear from Loveland residents that we accept all residents to be treated with respect and consideration on an equal basis, regardless of where they live. There's no location adjacent to residents' homes that's acceptable for a homeless shelter. Full stop. Loveland needs a complete and implement a shelter standard and controls that work for everyone. This needs to be done in weeks, not months or years, and must involve members of the public who will not be a rubber stamp for shelter businesses or a city that wants the DDA off their back. Mayor Marsh, Councilors Black, Light Kovac, and Swanty, you need to stop acting like homeless shelter emissaries and begin working with the rest of council to set standards that best serve Loveland as a whole. You can't solve a problem by knowingly creating problems for other residents. Tonight I'm asking all council to accept the responsibility you took on when you ran for office and proceed with urgency to develop meaningful standards and controls. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Alan Caldwell, followed by Don Pearson.
Good evening, Council. Alan Caldwell, Ward 4. First of all, thank you for what you do. You have a tough job. I wouldn't want your job. You don't have to agree on everything, but the public expects you to get along and work together, not against each other. That's an expectation of the public. The drama needs to stop. You're using valuable time. Next point. There needs to be priority seating in big meetings for Loveland residents because they pay the bills. That should be your policy. Next point. The homeless shelter fiasco should never be allowed to happen again. It's an embarrassment. It polarized the community. The reason the citizens did not want that shelter there is because shelters should not be next to a residential area. And they should not be in a retail area, okay? Put it somewhere else. If a shelter is going to happen in the future, it should be away from where people live and work. Whoever came up with the idea of putting the shelter in an industrial area deserves a medal, because that's the best idea so far. There needs to be a very detailed and comprehensive ordinance on shelter standards. Had that ordinance existed, perhaps this comedy that occurred a few months ago would have never happened. The level of detail needs to be extreme, and that particular ordinance must have substantial public input. Ms. Kovacs, that fiasco happened in your ward, okay? So this constituent, and I'm sure there's more than me, okay, expects you to lead and support a comprehensive rewrite of the ordinance. Again, thank you for what you do. You have a tough job. Just do your job well. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Alan. Our next speaker is Don Pearson, followed by Dennis Densmore.
Good evening, Mayor Marsh, Council, and fellow citizens. I'll point out I am wearing a peace sign tonight. I'm a peaceful type of person, all about peace here. Don Pearson, Ward 2. We have a big weekend coming up. On Sunday, April 20th, 2025, many will celebrate Easter Sunday. Many will be celebrating 420-friendly Cannabis Day. Some, like me, will be celebrating National Pineapple Upside Down Cake Day. There is such a thing. April 20th will be the 26th anniversary of the Columbine shooting in 1999. That's not really a celebration, though. For me, April 20th, 1972 is the day I entered the U.S. Army. I'm not a hero. I never served in Vietnam, nor was I ever in a combat situation. I am proud to have served, though, and I love our country. I love our democracy. Concerning this April 20th, there have been rumors and speculations about whether our current president, wannabe dictator, will possibly be invoking the Insurrection Act or even declaring martial law. This is a quote here. One of the first executive orders that Donald Trump signed when he assumed office as U.S. President on January 20th was to declare a national emergency along the southern border of the United States. That order had a rider to it, that President Trump might invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807 and possibly deploy the military on U.S. soil on April 20th, 90 days after the executive order was signed. That, in a nutshell, is the basis for all the concern and rumors that have been circulating over this. Along with all the other ways in which Trump has been testing his limits of his power, there have been more and more people protesting against his actions, and now the pro-Trump people are staging protests at the sites of our peaceful pro-democracy demonstrations. I believe violence will be encouraged by the pro-Trumpers this weekend, according to online conversations I've seen. I encourage everyone to do a little searching about what may be happening this weekend and how it may affect all of us. If you attend the Saturday protest on Lincoln, please be peaceful and watchful and mindful of your surroundings. Thank you. And also a note, Trump asked the dictator of El Salvador this past week to continue building prisons and concentration camps to house Americans who will be considered enemies of the state. And quickly to Councillor Sampson and Foley, if you're worried about the 4th of July celebrations, let's wait and see if we're under a dictatorship or if we still are a free country.
All right, thank you, Don. Dennis Dinsmore is our next speaker, followed by Tara Hildebrand.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm here to ask for Erin Black to step down from council. Erin, you represented your lack of governing skills on several opportunities that should have been a positive for our great city. But you allowed your anger and unhinged personality to shine instead. And yet you did it again tonight. Your council has asked you, your citizens have asked you, and are now in the process of removing you. I simply ask that you recognize citizens with banners are like peasants with pitchforks in the dark ages. They're asking that you step down. They don't have to fight this battle that costs the city almost $100,000. We're asking you to please do that. Step down, stop this fight. Thank you. I do have a point of order. Can I bring a point of order? Okay.
Only members of the body.
Well, but
Thank
he
you.
can use the rest of his minutes to talk about whatever he wants, can't he?
But you can't do a point of order.
Dennis, if you'd like to continue, you still had time on the clock.
But you can't do
My
a point of order.
Okay. My point is that supposedly people are picked by their order. 2 weeks ago, I put my order in an hour and a half early. I was first, but I almost didn't get to speak because you ran out of time. Today, I think I was 3 in line. Why am I 18th in line? Isn't it supposed to be order that they're received? Or are you picking and choosing who you want to speak?
I guess we can answer that at the end, but I don't know that we have an answer to that. So.
I'm happy to respond, Madam Mayor, if you'd like.
Oh, okay, but we're taking up public time, okay? Do you, City Manager, do you want Ashley to respond or wait?
I'd like to go watch my grandson's baseball game if you can do it now.
Madam Mayor, members of council, we tend not to respond during this time, so we'll definitely reach out to you in the morning and give you a response to that.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dennis.
If I could ask of the city manager, if we could actually have a response of just how cards are put together to be given to the mayor, maybe after public comment period, just for individuals that put cards in to give public comment that are here tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Again, thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the game. All right, Tara Hildebrand, followed by Greg Petruska.
Hi, I'm Tara from Ward 2, and actually, I do support Erin. I don't support what happened in the park, but I wanted to make sure that I said that I am kind of surprised. It just seems like we're overreacting. I feel like when I was on the Trust Commission, we came and presented our ideas of how to build trust. One of them was a code of conduct. And I remember Foley being so upset that he was hanging over the Diaz with spit coming out, telling us that we were stupid and emotional. So I feel like the conduct goes for everybody, not just for Erin. And I also believe that a diverse board is going to help this city more than a board that is fully in agreement all the time. And by taking Erin off of the board, we'd be losing a voice for women. And I'm not really sure that I know of any of you who are fighting as hard for women as Erin is. And so as a woman in this town, I would not like to see her recalled. So I do think a code of ethics is in order, as we said, I don't know, maybe it was a year and a half ago, and you guys were very offended by it, I guess. There were also other suggestions within the Trust Commission that, listening to all the comments tonight, would have been addressed if that if our suggestions had been even looked at. That would have been nice. And then also, I send in emails every once in a while to my ward representatives, which is Foley and Sampson. I rarely get responses. I did get an apology from Sampson after I called it out on a Facebook page. So that was 7 weeks after I had asked the question or sent in my email. And then Foley, I got one today after 9 weeks, but it was in regards to the one I sent yesterday about what happened to me at the protest this weekend, where I was surrounded by a bunch of bikers. They were really offended by the flag I was holding. They were pulling on the flag and yelling at each other about my ethnicity. They were like, "She's a Puerto Rican, she's a Puerto Rican." And some of them had weapons on their holsters, which I know is the Second Amendment right. But it was really intimidating. And so I called the dispatcher, as I was told to. And nobody came. The harassment kept going, so I called again. And I was told that they didn't have any officers to respond. Anyways, I just appreciate responses from emails, and I know all of you have them, and I haven't received any responses except for Foley. So thank you, Foley, for responding.
Thank you, Tara. Greg Petruska, followed by Katie Bainbridge.
I'm Greg Petruska from Ward 2, here to comment on Finance Item 9.2, Ordinance 6766, as follow-on to Ordinance 6665.
So, Greg, I'm going to interrupt you because public comment on ordinances, you give that during when we're discussing the
I
item.
thought general comment is for any item.
Oh, no,
Yes,
everything
you've
but
said
ordinances.
that before. Okay, then I'll just move on. It seems okay that, by the way, it is a terrible subsidy of the rather off-general fund budget supplemental appropriations many would call gifts to the Downtown Development Authority. It seems only certain extreme city staff and councilors think the DDA is a good thing. Many of your electorate and downtown business owners disagree and do not want our reduced tax dollars, from which our police budget was cut by $1 million, resulting in just 6 patrol units for the entire city at any time, spent on further subsidizing the DDA and the Hip Streets project funded by securitizing our public works building to be rented back over 25 one-year leases to circumvent its true long-term debt obligation and citizen-approved bond issuance. I explained several problems with Hip Street's financing scheme in a letter to Councilor Foley dated February 25th, 2025, with 24 background supplements that Councilor Sampson and City Manager Thompson were copied on. I here again call for an end to Loveland's activist government building and special interests financing activities, that Manager Thompson terminate CFO Waldy's employment as the chief architect of these ongoing financing schemes. I also here again, as discussed in my February 25th letter, recommend that Manager Thompson, or preferably an independent consultant, be hired to investigate Loveland City staff's politically motivated biases, hiring, and other activities involving favoritism and lack of transparency and complete presentations to the public of issues and facts. Many residents believe our city has been deeply infiltrated by outside personnel who bring extreme political biases focused on transforming Loveland into a clone of our larger Front Range neighbors, including Fort Collins and Boulder, which have tens of thousands of short-term transient liberal student voters. Such cancerous extremists must be purged. Our city manager must train our staff to return to the commitment of serving Loveland's residents rather than their own ideologies and agendas. I encourage Manager Thompson to instruct our city staff to serve the silent majority who are becoming increasingly outraged rather than continue to kowtow to the radical special interests and the minorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Katie Bainbridge, followed by Gail Randall.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, Mayor Marsh and council and esteemed guests. My name is Katie. I use she, her pronouns. I am a Ward 4 resident and a deeply concerned community member. I served on the Youth Advisory Council more than 25 years ago here in this council chambers. I almost walked my daughter right up the stairs thinking we could have a walk down memory lane. I needed to read that sign. As it turns out, my child saw the sign. As it turns out, my child is sitting in this audience being more respectful than many of the adults. I had adults back there trying to antagonize me. It's unfortunate that people in our community are acting in such a divisive way. It is on the council now to set a standard, to not interrupt one another, to treat each other with respect. I was not taught what is happening here on this when I was on the Youth Advisory Council. When my representative spoke about the Youth Advisory Council, I lit up. I wanted to clap after that. Not one person who was erupting in disruptive chatter clapped for that, but they're here to clap for their side. I don't understand how that's happening when there are actual children here learning about civic engagement. I used to teach youth civic engagement in Washington, D.C. I worked for the National 4-H Conference Center. I understand how this could work. I know that not everyone's going to agree, but to have these types of public tantrums and people in the audience not holding themselves to a high standard is embarrassing. It's really embarrassing to bring my child here while she's interested in knowing what's happening and having adults trying to have tantrums and intimidate one another. It's very sad. I have spoken briefly with some of you as counselors. I haven't been able to come to a lot of meetings. This is the first time I've spoken since I was a child. Right now, I know there are a number here in this audience who have never attended these meetings. I love it. Let's get engaged. I hope that I would invite our neighbors here to volunteer. The people who are compelled to interrupt, to speak, to be disrespectful to their neighbors, show up to more. I dare them to participate and show this type of energy to making Loveland the type of community they want it to be. This is embarrassing. This disruptive audience chatter, if you really want to be here chatting and clapping and glaring at each other, stay at home, have popcorn. I did it 2 weeks ago. Right now, my priority is Kilmer, Abrego, Garcia's rights to due process were violated by our executive branch. I am deeply concerned about the loudest and most threatening voices in this community threatening our First Amendment rights. I call upon our local leaders to support our Constitution for all. The 14th Amendment, Section 1 writes, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge privileges or immunities of citizens, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Thank you very much. I guess the one thing I want to add, I was hit by an uninsured, undocumented driver back in July. I understand people being upset about the district attorneys, I understand, but it's not just our district attorney, it's a statewide issue, and it goes back beyond the things that people are seeing the surface level of it. We have to get together and work on it.
Thank you, Katie. Welcome to your daughter. Gail Randall, followed by Chuck Hubbard.
I was out of town having fun in Loveland, not in Loveland, in Austin, and came home, and things have been going on. For Councilor Olson, there's 42 pages of rebuttal and facts if he wants to bring himself up to speed on what the other side of the story is. For Councilor Black, and I want to thank Tara for her really thoughtful comments. Because it's possible to hold two thoughts in your head at once. Somebody did something you wouldn't recommend, but they're also right in some ways. They're not evil because they believe in certain things. Some of the things she's being accused of, we've seen you all do, and you sit up here like you've never done anything wrong. You want to poke your fingers in everyone else's eyes. So about that video. So the guy filming was sporting a full head mask with a creepy face on it, sunglasses, a ball cap, a big old knife on his hip, and a sweatshirt that said, pardon my French, I baked you some shut the fuck up cakes. This is what passes for thought leadership here. This guy is who you were defending with your vote. This Mr. here has been spun as some poor waif, bless his pea-picking heart. Credible women have made credible allegations of this guy doxing and threatening them. So where's your outrage? about that? Where's your outrage that for a year the city has investigated a counselor without any authority to do so, while at the same time giving counselors Olson and Sampson a free pass for breaking the charter last December just to try and get an elderly resident arrested? Should anyone have met this guy in a park? Oh, hell no. It's not safe to engage with disordered people like this who stalk behind keyboards and masks. But people react to sustained corruption in different ways. Some look away, pretend they don't see it. Some embrace it to get ahead. Some surrender and go along to get along. And then there's the broad swath of decent people who get fed up with the corruption. The public is piping mad at those who make the lives of the innocent miserable. Like a rogue cop who doesn't investigate the crimes against women and children, Zach Merson, or some jerk behind a mask who gets counselors to carry his water for him. Honest, serious-minded Republicans do not engage in this kind of low-mindedness, no matter how much they disagree with someone. This guy wasn't in the park to find common ground. He was there to taunt and film the reaction and weaponize the video.
Thank you, Gail. Chuck Hubbard, followed by Darren Barrett.
Good evening, Council. I'm Chuck Hubbard, Ward 2, and I'm speaking in part on behalf of Together Colorado. I want to thank those of you who have tried to keep an open mind with regard to the placement of a shelter. And I know the place, First Christian at this point, is probably, well, each day that passes, the possibility of it being placed there, it becomes more remote. Nevertheless, I hope that you'll continue to keep an open mind as this issue is considered. I've heard tonight the term low barrier shelter, and I hope that you keep in mind what that really means. It means that if I needed to be in a place overnight, I went to the shelter and I had alcohol on my breath, or there was evidence that I had used some type of drug, but I met the protocols for admission. I was under control. I was able to demonstrate that I was not going to be of danger to others or myself. The shelter would allow me to stay. That is a good thing. We want people to be able to be sheltered, even though they may have had some alcohol or some type of drug. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the way low barrier shelters work, and I believe that that works for the benefit of a community. What we were talking about with regard to Homeward Alliance, if you had asked, if you'd been able to ask, would have been able to tell you that they have protocols for evaluation. They have protocols that they would follow in the event someone was out of control. And I didn't intend to address that tonight. What I wanted to address tonight was that eye-popping figure of a 56% increase in crime among Vancouver homeless shelters. These were emergency shelters that are set up in the winter. 56% increase in crime. Within 100 meters of the shelter, the next 100 meters, that figure drops precipitously off. Consider the type of crime that that actually increased. They were property crimes, basically, including some breaking and entering, and crimes of mischief, vandalism, and property destruction. I refer up to another study by two researchers from Sam Houston State University who surveyed the literature. And these are some of the comments that they make about what studies typically say with regard to crime. Well, I'll get to do this at another time. I'm very sorry.
Thank you, Chuck. Our next speaker is Darren Barrett, followed by Cindy Van Slamvert.
Oh, well, good evening, everyone. Ward 2 watchdog and champion of the taxpayer, Darren Barrett here. Does everybody remember what day it is? That's right, April 15th, otherwise known as Tax Day. But first, I want to talk about something that we've heard our mayor here speak about for years and years and years. Right here on the first page of our agenda, we have the introduction, the call to order, the Pledge of Allegiance, attendance report, and procedural information. Right here it says, council may act on behalf of the city, the General Improvement District Number 1, or the Special Improvement District Number 1. General Improvement District 1 or the Special Council may act on behalf. Oh well. Of course, I'll give exception to our new person, but you old salts that have been here on council for years, you know all about the General Improvement District and the Special Improvement District. You know about how many schools there are in there and how many, fire stations and how many residencies. And I'm sure you're probably aware of if those places are zoned to have a homeless shelter, but I digress. What I really came here today was talk about taxes and money. Now, last couple of meetings, we've had Councilor Olson who's wanting to educate the public here about the various types of city funds. I agree. Everybody should learn more about that. He's talked about the enterprise funds, water and power, and he's also talked about our general fund, which, according to our CFO, is where the headlines are captured. And, of course, he's explained over and over again that you can't take money from the enterprise funds and put it into our general fund. There's some type of rule against that. It just won't work. So, well, that's kind of the way it goes. But did you guys know there are 8 other entities in the city that have 13 funds supporting them? That's interesting, isn't it? Let's see, Fund 600 to 702. Well, let's see. How about Fund 602? What's that all about? Now, according to my information, last year there was about $50,000 in that fund, enough for a swim beach. And here is the 650 fund. That apparently has several $1 million in it, enough for a swim beach, fireworks, and maybe even to support the library. Why can't we use those funds? What are those for? And there's yet 13 other funds that the city has, but they don't really include that in a general summary. They don't really want the public to know about them. Well, maybe we can learn more about these funds in the near future. I think that would be a good thing for the public to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Cindy Van Slambrook is the last person that signed up in advance.
I just want to say that I was the last person that gave my card, so well done. Cindy Van Slambrook, Ward 2. I wish I could come up here and speak about what concerns I really have, but it seems like every day more and more come in. But I'm going to go back to the old standards and stick with clear, concise, complete information. Please start with that. Secondly, I too am in support of Erin. I don't think she's perfect. I don't think that she handled everything the way I would have, or a way that maybe a lot of us wouldn't have. But her heart is in the right place. She's concerned about victims. She is concerned about women. And when I think about what I'm really concerned about, I'm concerned about protesters being able to show up and peacefully demonstrate and have a police officer show up when they're being threatened. I also am in support of people acting civilly in these meetings, including the public, but you guys as well. And we all try to do our best, and we can all do better, but we really need to start using our best behavior. Going back to Erin Black, and I'm sorry I'm flitting back and forth, but this all started because of an IA report that had already, an internal investigation report that had already been released to the press by our police chief, but he would not release it just to you guys and so we could see it. That kind of thing just doesn't seem right to me. And that's what this all started about, victims who were not being treated properly. That's why there was an IA investigation. That's why that detective left. He also left with his pension that we paid. So that report is pretty damning. On top of that, the other thing is that in this Erin Black complaint, there were women that we know speak up week after week here and have had their personal information doxxed. Why aren't we talking more about that? Why aren't we talking more about the protesters who are being, harassed? That was terrible what one of the other speakers spoke to. And I have friends that are showing up and they said it is getting increasingly hard to peacefully demonstrate without being harassed by people who are guests on the other side. That's the kind of thing I would like to see our police chief handling. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. That concludes the people that signed up in advance. Ashley, by my clock, I think we have time for one or two. If there are any additional, is that what you have?
Yes, we have approximately 5 minutes.
That's about what I have. All right. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, George Garcliffe, Loveland, Colorado. Imagine, if you will, a parent trying to instruct a teenage offspring on family finances, and that parent holds up 2 checkbooks and says, we've got 2 checkbooks that we pay bills out of. We've got this general fund checkbook, and this pays for food, clothing, rent, you name it. This other checkbook is the TGIF checkbook. This is for special projects. And you have to understand that we don't commingle these funds. That, the general fund checkbook, write a check there, it doesn't take anything out of TGIF. You write a check out of TGIF, it doesn't take anything out of general fund. And the wise-ass teenager says, well, where does the money come from for each of these things? And the father says, you don't need to know that. And maybe the other parent says, well, both of those checkbooks are funded from one account. And when you put money into one checkbook, that means there's less in the other one, less available for the other one. That's a pretty simple concept to understand. And yet, this city continues to engage in a charade where we say that one doesn't affect the other, when in fact, both the TIF funds and the general fund are funded from the same taxpayer base. And the charade continues. We have a counselor that'll pull up the CFO and ask the scripted question, isn't it true that when we have TIF distributions, it doesn't affect general fund? And at the same time, there's absolute silence when it comes to understanding or explaining that any money that goes from the tax base into TIF funding means there's less for the general fund. It's a scripted charade, and it's unfortunate that the city continues to do that. I think there's an awful lot of citizens that are concerned about this type of explanation. It may be time for the city to come clean and have a much simpler explanation of how things are funded and things work. And that we don't have a printing press, there's no magic money. When you divert funds from one account into another, it just means there's less for the library, for the swimming beach, for Chilson, and everything else. So let's be honest, folks, instead of having the charade. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. We have time for one more comment. Is there anyone in chambers?
Thank you, Madam Mayor,
counselors, Mickey Newfer, Larimer County. I hadn't planned on speaking tonight, but after hearing Erin Black and what she had to say, I felt compelled to get up here. I think it is, like many others have said, just more evidence that the vote that this council took 2 weeks ago, asking her to resign, was the right call, asking her to do that. So I want to thank you for taking a stand for civility. We can do a lot better. I did also want to address the order in which speakers are called. 2 weeks ago, I was here at 4:15. I was the first, maybe the second person to sign up. My name was not called the entire public comment. If I remember correctly, it was even extended, but I may be incorrect there. But I had to wait to speak until on the agenda item itself. I approached Ashley and said, "Hey, I'm wondering if what happened." And she let me know that those cards are given to the mayor, and the mayor shuffles through those. So that kind of gave me pause, because I'm pretty sure that Mayor Marsh knew where I fell on the Erin Black issue. So I would like to make a proposal to help all of us that like to come and engage. If there's any way that those response cards can be numbered, and that way we would know exactly where we're at in the lineup. If we have something that we need to get to, we can make sure we're here early so that we're maybe one of those first speakers that get to speak. So just an idea, we might be able to handle that. And Mayor, that would probably protect you from people like me who wondered if there was some shuffling going on. For all of the citizens in Loveland, if you have not watched the video, the numerous videos that are out there of our Counselor Black explaining how we need civility and ethics, and yet this is how she conducts herself, I would encourage you to do your due diligence, to watch for yourself what everybody's in an uproar about. And then I would encourage you to go to recall Erin Black, and join us in recalling her. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. And that concludes our public comment time. Thank you, everyone who stayed and shared your thoughts with us. We move on to reports from council. This is an opportunity for council members to report on recent activities. I'll just give a shout out. Last night we had 3 different boards and commissions come together for a joint meeting. The Senior Advisory Board, the Transportation Advisory Board, and the Disabilities Advisory Commission got together at the Public Works Building, and it was an opportunity for kind of some great discussion by different groups that have similar issues with transportation, accessibility, mobility, and I want to thank all the staff from the different departments that were there and the chairs of those different boards and commissions and the people that came from the boards. It was a great conversation. I had several people afterwards kind of suggest we do it more frequently. It's the first time in my 7+ years on council that we've had such a joint meeting, and it was really well received, and people got to discuss issues that were common amongst different boards and commissions. So thank you, everyone that participated and facilitated in that. Any other lights on for reports from council? All right. Councilor Olson, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind the councilors that I had sent out an email that's available to the public as well. A few slides that were from the Loveland Utilities Commission packet they're going to be meeting tomorrow night. I thought it was interesting to see that per capita usage of water has been decreasing over time. So we're getting more and more efficient in how we use our water on an individual basis and also on a total basis, including the commercial. Also included was a snow tell report, which shows the state and the various basins that we have and the percentage of snow in as a point in time in relation to that. And the northern basins are doing quite well. The southern basins, not so much. So I thought you might find that interesting. And then finally, there's a water equivalent at Bear Lake that monitors over a period of number of years the average snow pack or water content up there by month. And as you might expect, it doesn't start until the snow starts falling in November and then tapers off pretty quickly as you get into May. But it's interesting, I find that on there is the lowest year when we had a severe drought was 2002. And 2011 was a pretty good year. And we're above the average for 2025, which I think is pretty good signs that we may have some water coming down the river pretty soon. So I appreciate my opportunity to serve on the Utilities Commission. That's, in my mind, one of the greatest commissions we have. So thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilor Olson. We'll move on to our consent agenda. At this time, any council member may request that an item on the consent agenda be moved to the regular agenda. These items will be heard at the end of the regular agenda. Members of the public who have not previously provided public comment at this meeting on an item moved to the regular agenda will be given an opportunity to speak to the item before the council acts upon it. Do any councilors wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Okay, well, we don't have our motion reader. All right, do you want, all right. First of all, Ashley, do we have any ordinances remaining on the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have two for you this evening. Ordinance number 6763, second reading, item number 5.1. Ordinance approving the annexation of certain territory to the City of Loveland, Colorado, to be known and designated as Great Western Second Addition to the City of Loveland. And then we have Ordinance 6764, second reading, item 5.1, ordinance amending Section 18.02.02.03 of the Loveland Municipal Code, the same relating to zoning regulations for Great Western Second Addition to the City of Loveland.
All right, if we could have a motion, please.
A motion to adopt the consent agenda items 5.1 to 5.5.
Second.
A motion and a second by Councilor Foley. Roll call, please.
Foley?
Yes.
Malo?
Yes.
Lightkovach?
Yes.
Swanty?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Marsh?
Yes.
Sampson?
Yes.
Black?
Yes.
Mayor, the vote is 8 yes.
All right, thank you. The motion passes. We don't have any new business from council. So before we move to the regular agenda, we'll take a 13-minute break. We'll reconvene at 8 p.m. We are in recess. We are reconvened as Loveland City Council regular meeting. We move on to our regular agenda, procedural information. Council will give anyone in the audience time to speak to any item on the regular agenda before acting upon it. The mayor will call for public comment as part of the consideration of each item according to state law, the charter, its rules of procedure, and other legal requirements. Loveland's charter only requires that a majority of the quorum present vote in favor to adopt an ordinance on first reading. However, adopting an ordinance on second or final reading requires that at least 5 of the 9 council members vote in favor. Our first item, and we only have 2. First item is from the city clerk's office. Presenter is Ashley McDonald, Sterling Wilson, Adriana Mazur. Ordinance amending the Loveland Municipal Code by repealing and relocating Chapter 5.45 into Title 8 and updating Title 8 concerning the licensing of alcohol beverages and tobacco products. A motion to approve on first reading ordinance number 6765, amending the Loveland Municipal Code by repealing and relocating Chapter 5.45 into Title 8 and updating Title 8 concerning the licensing of alcohol beverages and tobacco products. If I can. Second by Councilor Light Kovat. All right, take it away, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Ashley McDonald. I am your city clerk. Here tonight, I have Adriana Mazur and Sterling Wilson to assist with a presentation regarding Title 8 code changes for liquor and tobacco licensing.
Thank you, Ashley. Madam Mayor, members of council, thank you for this opportunity. Staff is recommending modifications to enhance the efficiency of alcohol and tobacco licensing processes and procedures, with the focus on public safety and improving the clarity of our municipal code, which thereby fosters transparency. Some of the proposed changes are a response to the enactment of Senate Bill 24-231, and the most significant change of this code is that tobacco will move from Chapter 5 and it will be combined with liquor in Title 8 for the alignment of efficiency. Thank you. First, we'll go through a very, very brief code history. Then we will let you know why this is coming before you tonight. After that, we will discuss proposed changes, the major changes for liquor and for tobacco. And then our ask is that you approve this ordinance. And then after that, we'll have time for questions. A little bit of history. Title 8 and Title 5 are separate titles. Title 8 being alcohol beverages, that was last updated in 2019. And Title 5, business licenses and regulations, is what tobacco licensing is under, and it's currently called, it's under Chapter 4.45, and it is called Licensing of Tobacco Retailers, and this was added in 2021. Thank you. Why do we need these changes? First and foremost, we need them to promote safety. That is one of our biggest reasons for this change. The other one is to streamline our licensing process to have liquor with tobacco, and also to be able to comply with Senate Bill 24-231, which is the Alcohol Beverage Liquor Advisory Group recommendations that was signed by the governor May 18th of 2024. And the changes will streamline our licensing code. So Title 8 licensing code will have liquor code, Colorado beer and wine code, Colorado special event liquor permit code, and Colorado tobacco code. And now Sterling will provide a little bit more information on the major proposed changes to liquor.
Thank you, Adriana. Madam Mayor, members of council. I'll start with the first change, the report of disturbances. This strengthens the partnership between liquor enforcement and Loveland Police Department and the community. This improves safety. Posters are to be placed at the point of sale similarly to a minor warning sign with contact information for the local licensing authority and enforcement included on the poster. It notifies all occupants of the building to report unlawful activities immediately. And this also applies to special event liquor permits, formerly known as special event permits. Increased requirements for security and physical barriers promote the nonprofit community. These permits are only issued to not-for-profit entities. The code change allows for better compliance monitoring, increasing public safety, and promoting the community. There's a training requirement. Alcohol server training requirements aid businesses to avoid violations in the first place and prevent direct impacts to public safety, i.e. Driving under the influence. Approved training programs issue course attendees, business employees, certificates that must be provided as proof along with applications. Loveland Police Department offers a free class to the community which improves the relationship between businesses and law enforcement. And finally, from that Senate bill referenced, tasting permits have been extended to all off-premise retailers, meaning fermented malt beverage and wine retailers, i.e. your grocery store or even a gas station in some instances. Now, tasting permits are a locally issued permit that is meant to promote local businesses and small producers, and alcohol training increases the amount of safety regulation around those retailers. And with that, I will turn it back over to Adriana.
Thank you, Sterling. And for the major proposed changes for tobacco, we have, like liquor, the proposed changes will prioritize safety and streamline the licensing process, both externally and internally, and bring us into better alignment with state regulations. So the processing timelines will be changed. They will be updated, and as well as the approvals and denials, that time period will be extended. Compliance checks and inspections, there's additional language added there. For compliance checks, those with history of violations, for example, may be subject to more frequent compliance checks, and that's part of the safety aspect. We are also updating renewal filing deadline to follow liquor as it is now, which is 45 days prior to expiration. And the appeal process will also align with our current liquor process. And with that, we're also adding good moral character so that we can, which will let us make sure that applicants are in good standing with other agencies and other city departments. And that will also align with our process with the state's screening of applicants' history of tobacco code violations. And finally, the license expiration, it will be changed from right now, we are issuing them by calendar year. They will be changed from 1 year of issuance. So whenever they apply, a year after it's approved, it'll expire a year after that. And this will help us with spreading the workload for clerk staff, and it will also help the applicants when they apply for their state permit, their state license. And late submissions and repercussions, that will also follow the current liquor rules. So our ask is that you approve ordinance 6765. If this is approved on first reading, it will be brought back May 6th for second reading. And questions?
We actually have public comment next, so I'll invite anyone in chambers that wishes to comment on this item to come up to the podium, give us your name and city of residence, and you'll each get up to 3 minutes. Now, I'm not sure how we're going to do that, Ashley, with you. Oh, there you are. Okay. All right.
Ghost of Cold Iron is back.
I'll monitor my own time, that's okay. Once again, local resident, Ward 2, Darren Barrett. You know, I've been talking to a lot of vendors and shopkeepers here recently about a number of things, and a couple places I walked into, and all their cigarettes and tobacco products, they had them all covered up with plastic and a sign, "We can't sell these." And of course, I had to ask what's going on, and I heard about, well, they changed all the licensing stuff on us. Really? So here's some things for you to consider. What if you're a shopkeeper and you sell tobacco, but you don't sell alcohol? Do you have to buy both licenses, or just one, or pay for both, or one at the same time? How does that work? And if you're a business owner, you know always there's things you have to do at the end of the year and the beginning of the year, the licenses and stuff. It sounds like this might be great for the city, but what about the shopkeepers? I didn't realize that my license expired in June. I thought I had till January. And now they're out of compliance? Do they have to pay a fine? Is there a grace period to this? I think you need to check into some of that a little bit and ask some more questions about what's going on, and make it better for the city, that's fine, but make things easier for our vendors too that are paying your sales tax.
Thank you, Darren. Is there additional public comment from anyone inside chambers? Come on up and give us your name and city of residence.
My name is Vishal Kapoor. My city of residence is 2112 Thunderstone Court. I do have a business in town over there off of 805 North Lincoln. I do see that you guys are proposing some new ordinances concerning tobacco. I would like to make my input. Number one, cap the maximum daily fines. Right now, if a retailer is not in compliant, I think those need to be capped. It shouldn't be $2,500 per product. It should be $2,500 per day. The current ordinance creates extreme compounding penalties that could bankrupt small businesses. Number two, clarify grace periods for compliance. Immediate suspension, revocation consequences with unclear timelines for compliance. What we suggest is licensees shall be given a written warning in a minimum 14-day grace period to correct any first-time violations. Add language requiring actual knowledge or intent. Innocent mistakes could lead to massive penalties. And what we request is that no civil penalties shall be assessed unless the violation occurred with actual knowledge, gross negligence, or willful disregard of the law. We also request to, concerning eliminate or reduce the display ban during suspension. Current proposal is that you can't even display any tobacco products or advertise during a suspension period. That goes beyond enforcement and into economic punishment. What we request is that licensees with a suspended license shall not sell tobacco products, but may store and display products so long as they are not offered for sale. We also request under shorten or clarify the timeline for licenses to surrender. Currently, it's at current proposal has it at 10 days to surrender license, 30 days to dispose of products with penalties for failure. This penalizes businesses that are confused or appealing the decision. What we propose, deadlines for surrender and inventory disposal shall be stayed pending the outcome of a timely filed appeal. Add affirmative right to appeal or reapply. If you don't respond or appeal on time, you lose everything. What we propose, licensees who miss a filing deadline due to an excusable neglect may request a reinstatement or extension of appeal rights within 30 days. You also need to constitute what a violation means. It's very vague. Each sale could be counted separately. Ambiguity gives the city too much discretion. What we propose for the purpose of this chapter, a violation shall mean a continuous course of conduct or set of actions occurring on the same calendar day, regardless of the number of individual sales involved. And that'll be all. Thank you.
Mashad. Did you have a clarifying question for Mashad?
I did.
Okay, what is that? Stay up there 1 second, please.
Sir, you read that off of a sheet, correct?
I read it off my cell phone.
Is there a way you could email that to council so that we have what you are proposing, and that way we can give at least look at it and have a consideration? That was 3 minutes of fast, and I can't write that fast, so.
I understand. I'll send it off to you guys.
Thanks,
you. Guys. Thanks for your time.
The community email is ccouncil, so you end up doing ccouncil@cityofloveland.org, and we'll all get it, so you don't have to do individually. Thank
Ms.
you.
Marsh.
All right, additional public comment from inside chambers?
Good evening, Council. My name is Sean Hawkins with the Loveland Downtown District, and I just really want to ask more of a clarifying question that I wasn't aware of. As you, I've seen many of you attend these events. We do many events in the Foundry in the summer, and we hire security. There's now a requirement to hire policing. So I really want to get some understanding on the physical boundary piece, because I think if there's an expectation right now as you leave our events, there's signage that we put at every possible way you can get out that says no alcohol past this point, and that's been acceptable through the past. I just want to make sure we're not going to be in this position that every time we do an event in the Foundry, we must put up fencing around the whole perimeter of it because it would be expensive. And honestly, in our experience doing special events there, when we do them like a Wednesday night concert, 6:30 to 8:30, we haven't had any issues. So I just want to get some understanding on that. I know there's a second reading on this, so maybe if you guys could just hit me up, I would like to know that. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Is there additional public comment from inside chambers? Chad, do we have any phone-in public comment?
Thank you, Mayor Marsh. Users, if you'd like to speak to this item, choose the raise your hand feature or press star 9 if joining by phone. Madam Mayor, we do not have any users with their hands raised.
All right, thank you. We'll close public comment. My question for Ashley in our clerk's office, what kind of input opportunities have we given the people that would be subject to these new rules and policies? Whether it's somebody selling tobacco or alcohol.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There were not community input sessions that were formally held, but the clerk's office does take feedback from our applicants throughout the year that we use when we're taking into consideration code changes like this.
Okay, and when you're talking about like reporting disturbances, it sounds like any kind of disturbance. I think, we've all witnessed somebody who's being told you can't have any more alcohol, and sometimes they get a little bit loud that you're cutting them off. I mean, this seems like it's putting a pretty big burden on people that might be serving, and they might have staff that can deal with this the issue in front of them. But would they be in violation of this new rule and procedure that they didn't report it, even though they handled it?
Madam Mayor, I may defer that to our legal counsel. Michael, would you be able to answer to that?
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. It's good to be back. The question about the report of disturbances, I'll be the first to admit there's no such thing as plagiarism in lawyering, and we shamelessly stole that from the Fort Collins Municipal Code. So we do have a basis that this is a rational requirement imposed on liquor license holders. I think to some of the statements or questions you were asking, it isn't necessarily a requirement that is imposed on the general public. It is for the licensees. This is a matter that allows the police department to be a little bit more involved with keeping the peace. There have been incidents over the past couple of years that I've been working with the city and involved with the liquor licensing that I think would have benefited from a little bit more of an affirmative requirement for licensees to report incidents that occurred, rather than having the police have to, sort of find out and trace it back to occurring at a location.
Thank you. We'll give somebody else an opportunity. Councilor Foley, I saw you next, and then Councilor Sampson and Councilor Light-Kovach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I've got a couple of them, and I'm going to just kind of hit my questions, and then I'll let you kind of divulge after that. But I've got, number one, why 9 o'clock? What's the rationale behind that? Could it be 10? Where is, or should there also be in this consideration for marijuana and the mushrooms? Okay, the other thing is, what constitutes good moral character? Some would say this city struggles a little bit with that. No pun intended, just a little tongue-in-cheek there. Too soon? Probably. All right. The other thing is I kind of like the thought process here of, and what came to mind is when I go and buy a fishing license, I can also get my small games hunting license. I can also buy extra rods and stuff like that. If there's redundancy built in these, is there a way that they can do it once and have those multiple aspects set in there to where it streamlines that process, and it's like going in and getting your fishing license? You got a whole list of everything you can do, one-stop shop, one time, and kind of go through that. Because I would imagine that there's a lot of similarities and a lot of requirements that come, and they're the same, and we're just duplicating the effort each time. They're going, I signed my name now 6 times. So that's another one. And then, is there any thought of looking at any type of requirements, especially on these ad hoc events, for looking at a requirement for a safe ride? Why not allow our citizens to come and enjoy themselves and partake, but also have the safe ability to get back home and not be at risk on the streets on a life-changing DUI or a fatality, accident, etc. So why not, let's take and see if there's not an avenue that we could do to help facilitate something like that, that actually encourages more people to come to those events. They spend more money equals more general fund equals 4th of July, Independence Days, swim beaches, libraries, etc.
Thank you for the questions, Counselor. And let me, if I can, I'd like to go back through and make sure I understand, because I think I have 4 questions from you. You were asking about why 9 o'clock, and you're referring to the tastings permit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, on the slide it said, 10 a.m. to 9. And then why wouldn't we consider the other entities or the other products, such as marijuana and mushrooms? What defines good moral character? And then is there a way of combining this stuff similar to like going in and getting your hunting license, fishing license? And then what about that safe ride factor?
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, sir. So I think we're going to play a little bit of popcorn here on this one. Adriana's volunteered to answer the first question regarding the 10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Foley, for that question. So the hours were actually changed by the state, and we are to comply with those changes. So that has nothing to do with us. We just have to comply with what hours they have. So the only change that happened there was that the hours of consumption used to be 11 to 9. Now they are 10 a.m. to 9 to allow for another hour of service. And like I said, that's a state rule. We'd have to just comply. That's part of Senate Bill 24-123, saying that right. So, and I will let Michael answer the.
Take 2. I'll take number 2.
Okay.
So I'll answer the question regarding should there be a consideration for marijuana and natural medicine relative to marijuana. That code is currently under development, and the intention is that it would be placed under this code. Relative to natural medicine, that isn't a licensing application that we have had under discussion in the clerk's office, but we're certainly open to having such discussions. Sterling, would you take number 3?
Absolutely, Ashley. Councilor Foley, to answer your question about good moral character, this language is present in the state tobacco license application, both new and renewal. It is examining the moral character, specifically the criminal history in regard to tobacco violations of the applicant.
It additionally gives us the opportunity to make sure that their sales tax is paid in other jurisdictions, that they don't have any other violations regarding their licensing in other jurisdictions. That would be a reason for us to deny an application if they're not in good standing in other locations.
Okay, so that leaves us with, sorry, that leaves us with the one-stop shop question and the safe ride, facilitating a safe ride. And yeah, I just do want to touch again that a lot of these changes are fundamentally based on changes at the state level for the licensing aspects. So that's where you're seeing some of these more specific items. But regarding the one-stop shop aspect, I believe that, well, that may be a question for Ashley and company, but I believe you can also apply for other types of licenses when you go to the clerk's office to apply for the tobacco license or the alcohol license. I don't believe that there is a good way for us to incorporate a one license form for everybody or for everything type of solution for that, but that's certainly something we can look into. Regarding the safe ride or facilitating that, that's another thing we can look into. I think thankfully in the modern age, everybody has access to a safe ride. At least everybody who has a phone handy has access to a safe ride. So, a lot of folks have that ability in their own pocket to get themselves home safely. Certainly, I do agree that that's a good idea, and that's something we can look into, though, to try to put that out there more for folks to avoid those kind of bad choices at the end of the night.
And if I just may, Councilmember Foley, just one quick sort of editorial footnote on the all-in-one concept. While that is something I think staff can look into, I'm a little bearish on that concept only because for the state, for all three subjects matters, you got both marijuana, liquor, and tobacco. There's a state license for each of those, and there's a local license for each of those. And they have their own unique processes that occur. But to my colleague Michael's point, they can certainly be applied for at the same time. But to the extent that there's a hearing required for one, there may not be a hearing required for the other. It just depends on the circumstances. But for example, if it's a renewal and you set them all up at the same time, I don't know of anyone that's going to have all three, but at least two, tobacco and liquor, that is a common combination in the city. You could do your renewal for both of those at the same time currently.
Yeah. All right, Counselor Sampson.
Thank you. I looked at the agenda tonight. I was like, oh, wow, it's going to be a short night. Nope. Probably not, Jim. Sorry. All right. So there were a lot of good questions asked by our residents and citizens here, and I'd like to have some answers to those. But my very first question is, how much of this can we alter? I know there's some things that are set by the state. We can't change those. How much of the red line is set by the state versus we pulled it from neighboring municipalities? I don't need a percentage. I guess I kind of just need to know what we can't change. Oh, you know what? I'll do my orders. You guys are waiting for all my questions. Okay, that's right. I forgot I do that. Yeah, what topics or what lines? You discussed not-for-profit organizations getting a special event license, and I also noticed that they only can have it for 15 days in the calendar year. And I don't know if this applies or not because I don't know what kind of license they use for this. but like not bars serving alcohol. So like Sip and Shop or Sip and Paint or barber shops or, hair salons that will serve you like one or two, beers or glass of wine or whatever. I think it might even just be one. How does this impact them? Do they have to apply for a special license and then can they only have it 15 days out of the year? I also wanted to know the answer to what Sean brought up about having to have a secure perimeter for like Foundry events. And then there was a few other things I had questions about. And I wasn't listening to if you answered this, I didn't hear it, but the reason for not to deny an application is number 9. So this is section C of all the new code. 8.12.060, issuance, license, term, expiration, and renewal. So C9 says competent evidence exists that the applicant is not of good moral character. I am also concerned about that. Also, it says that another good reason for denying an application is if the information presented in the application is incomplete, inaccurate, or false. But incomplete, I mean, it sounds a little harsh. Sometimes people don't know how to fill out forms. So that's a little concerning to me because it's subjective, not objective. And then I also wanted to know there was another section 8.10.020, qualifications of organizations, and it talks about just specifically in item B, the city-owned arts facilities, which is interesting to me because there's other arts facilities that maybe would qualify under that, but maybe they're not because they're not city-owned. So I don't know if that was something that maybe we could discuss. And then I lost my other page, so you're in luck. I'll stop there. Oh, and I would also, though, like to address a lot of the concerns that the gentleman raised when he came and spoke, but maybe we'll have to do that in the second reading because then we'll have the email. I don't know. Okay, I'm done. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for the questions, Councilwoman. So to start off, I think the question you asked about how much of the red line is specifically.
Can't hear you.
Oh.
My apologies.
Thank you. Ominous voice from the dark.
Yes, thank you. So to get to that question about how much of this is kind of set in stone by statute versus how much is open to the city, actually the state grants quite a large leeway to the city to legislate what is appropriate for our community. Additionally, I think we have some additional control over our community based on our home rule status, but largely these are based on the state's grant to the local licensing authority to impose whatever kinds of rational sorts and reasonable sorts of regulations that fit the community. So again, a lot of this is sort of delegated to the community to provide what is appropriate. I was not quite clear, and if I could ask for clarification on the question about not-for-profit organizations.
Yeah. When you were doing your presentation, someone mentioned something about not-for-profit. Special events permits increase only can be issued to not-for-profit organizations, and I felt like maybe I did misunderstand, and so that's why I wanted to ask about it. I do know there was an area in here that said something about not-for-profit, you didn't have to apply by or follow the same rules. At least that's kind of what it seemed in the section, and I could find it because I circled it, but we can come back to that one if you want to, and I'll find it while other people are asking questions.
I think Sterling may have
Unless
an
you read
answer.
my mind, Sterling.
Yeah, Councilor Sampson, I think I can provide a little bit of clarity on that for you. A special event liquor permit is a special type of permit for not-for-profit entities, and it's issued up to 15 days per calendar year. Those can be consecutive or on separate dates. Those are meant for essentially a fundraiser, and they're a type of permit class versus an active liquor license. You reference barbershops and like a Sip and Paint. A more appropriate retail liquor license would apply to those businesses, and they have many options. So the changes in the Senate bill referenced affect the special event liquor permit specifically. And so those changes are going to be independent. Our code changes for the physical barriers surrounding those, that is an application requirement that it adds an additional buffer, if you will, preventing violations in the first place, meaning alcohol leaving their premises. And when a violation occurs, it affects the permit holder first and foremost, in addition to the impact of the community. So when drinks leave a licensed premises area, there's a chance that that organization would end up liable.
Can we remove that?
It is a safety net.
And I can provide some additional clarification on that physical boundary. It's not a requirement to have fencing. It's mostly just so that there is a visible representation that clearly shows where alcohol is being served. So you could use caution tape, you could use hay bales, just something physical that identifies where the alcohol is allowed to be served.
I see.
And this helps prevent minors from mingling in the area or from there being consumption of alcohol outside of the defined boundary area in which the licensee applied for.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, we'll move
But
on.
I think there were, did I have a couple more? Are we all good?
I think I didn't quite catch which section you were pointing to. You mentioned 8.10, and I did not get the last three.
Could
maybe
it
that-
have been 8.10 8.10 or 8.10 or 8.12? Say 8.12060, and that's the one that refers to the good moral character and also the incomplete application standards.
Okay, yeah, sure. So, yeah, the good moral character is largely based on, criminal convictions or violations of the licensing code that may exist either in our city or in jurisdictions outside of the city. So we do generally look into those things to make a determination of an applicant's character. This is just a codification that's based on the state's code as well.
So that is from the state, that sentence.
If I may just jump in briefly, Councilor Sampson, it is from the state, and the language, good moral character, is sort of being a criteria for a licensee, has been around since I've been practicing in this area, and probably longer than that. Like probably the origin of the liquor code contained that very same standard. The idea being that you'd want your local business license holders to be of good moral character. Really, it's highlighting their criminal past.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. Thank you.
Counselor Light-Kovach?
Yes, thank you. So I have 3 questions that I was able to jot down, and some came from Mr. Kapoor, but again, I struggled to get everything that he was saying down. One question is, do shopkeepers get a reminder that their license renewal is coming due, or a grace period if it has lapsed? Question number 2, he had brought up that the current code is saying there's going to be a $2,500 fine per tobacco product, and he was wondering if it could be per day. My question is that governed by the state, or is that something that we could have wiggle room with here? And then he also mentioned the timeline for surrendering your license. It was 7 days to surrender and then 30 days to remove product. And his ask was, is it possible to have that only occur after the outcome of the appeal has come about? So again, the question is that governed by the state, or is that something that we could further discuss? That is it for my 3 questions.
And the city clerk staff may have additional input regarding, and I think I'll probably just address these in reverse order. But the clerk's office likely has additional information or position on the surrender question. We, though, generally have found difficulty with, ascertaining when somebody has surrendered their license or has given up their license. That's largely focused on the license itself, but generally, this would be something that if there was a pending appeal of that decision, say, that would largely be stopped by that appeal.
I'm sorry, what would largely be stopped?
Under a surrender, if there was a surrender circumstance, if they were appealing, say, a forced surrender of license under revocation or suspension terms.
Okay.
Regarding the question about a $2,500 fine, that is actually up to a $2,500 fine. It is not necessarily a set in stone that every single item within the store is $2,500. From the code section 812.120, subsection C. In addition, the authority may impose civil penalties of up to $2,500 for each separate tobacco product sold during the period of noncompliance with this chapter. It also discusses above in section A some of the guidelines for penalties for violations. So these are kind of guidelines or guardrails that the authority can use for imposing penalties, but they are not. It is not a $2,500. Every single cigarette in the store gets a $2,500 fine, but certainly we're happy to take in the advice or the suggestion to consider a $2,500 per day as opposed to per item. But again, it's written that way to give the licensing authority the leeway to consider the facts of the case and what may have happened in determining what is the appropriate fine for the violation.
Okay. I think our city attorney, are you wanting to weigh in?
I was going to chime in as well, Councilor Kovac. My understanding is the $2,500 penalty is from the state of Colorado, so that is a similar provision that we had, I think, to your original question, and that is only for selling tobacco products without a license. Okay. That's the only time that comes up. If you look at 8.12.120, the sort of active use violations have, within a 36-month period, a civil penalty of a minimum of $500, then there's a minimum of $1,000, and then a 30-day suspension after 3 or more violations. That is a more common rubric, and it also tracks with what the state does.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, thank you, Vince. Regarding the questions about whether shopkeepers get reminders and such, so the intent with the setting up the expiration date on a yearly basis, that I guess to not have all our licenses expire on the 31st of December is also in keeping with state code, that the state wants the licenses to reoccur on the same state licensing schedule. The state does issue a 90-day a 45-day notice. I forget, actually, I believe that was. I'd like to double check and make sure I have the exact wording for you on that. Section 44-7-104.5 of the state's licensing code indicates that 90 days before the expiration date of an existing state license, and this is dealing with tobacco licensure, the division shall notify the licensee of the expiration date by electronic mail or by first-class mail. So the city does not specifically codify a requirement that we notify. However, licensees do receive a notice from, or will receive under this code, a notice from the state.
And then the hope is that the city doesn't have to send the reminder because they got their local license and their state license at the same time, and so that state reminder is going to serve, hey, reminder to get both your local and your state licenses renewed. Is that sort of the idea behind it?
That is generally the hope.
Councilor Olson.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get an answer to my other question, but okay.
All right, Councilor Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. I got a number of questions, so I'm not sure I'll get through all of them. But first off, just an observation. Looking at particularly the red line document, it would have been helpful if they had page numbers on there so I could direct you to where I'm talking to. But in general, just to clarify, looking at attachment 3, the type in black is the original ordinance and the type in red is the changes?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, just an observation again, this isn't just a minor rewrite of the code. It's a dramatic change to the code. And I gathered that I know the answer to this. Did you reach out to the business owners that sell alcohol and tobacco to give them a copy of this and ask them to comment?
Thank
Is there an answer
you.
from somebody?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Olson. So as for reaching out to folks when, so for liquor, when the Senate bill went into effect and the changes were made, we did reach out to folks. We sent a bulletin. So those communications started from November of 2024. And then as folks came in for renewals, we informed them of changes, or as the state sent us forms reminding folks that they needed to make a change to their license class, we also send them that update. And we normally are the ones that speak to the applicants on behalf of the state. So they come to us and we do let them know, and we have let them know of the changes, first with a bulletin and then individually as they come for renewals.
How about for
liquor.
cigarettes?
Councilor Olson, in regard to tobacco licensing, toward the end of the year, as currently all tobacco licenses expire on December 31st, we do send out a renewal notice letter in October, reminding applicants that they must apply for renewal no later than December 1st in order to avoid really time constraints up to this point. Similarly, we also issue liquor license renewal notices 45 days prior to the liquor license expiration date. It's on a little different schedule according to our local licensing authority hearings here in Loveland. But the same language was communicated in those regular memos that are mailed to licensees per statute.
Excuse me for interrupting, but did you provide them a copy of proposed changes and say, you might want to look at this? This is pretty extensive changes and may very well impact your business adversely?
In regard to the changes of license class, the Senate bill changes.
I'm talking about the document we have before us, the ordinance. I mean, it's changes that they could have dramatic impact on the business. And we had a business owner speak to this. And so was he afforded an opportunity? Was he invited to come comment? And were others that sell these products invited to come comment on a major ordinance? I mean, you look at the red line, you can hardly find any black in it. So it's a huge rewrite of the code. And I'm concerned that we're blindsiding our business owners. This is our livelihood. And so, my preference would be to table this, to send out a notice to all the business owners, and since they have to be licensed, we know who they are, and provide them a copy of this document and ask them to comment on it. They do that for federal regulations. Why don't we do it here with a major change to an ordinance? Maybe that should be part of our practice, that there has to be, an opportunity for public comment. We publish a document and then give the public an opportunity to comment on it. I'm just really shocked by the magnitude of this. And I know I'm going to be out of time, so I got more to say.
Go ahead, City Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It may be beneficial for the entirety of the council. This is just anecdotally, but I would characterize maybe 70% of these red lines are from the state of Colorado, where the city is required to follow these standards. So I certainly understand the point that's been made, about inviting the business community in, but the city has very little discretion when it comes to the state requirements that I just referenced. The areas where the city has some more discretion on the penalties, for example, that would be an area where perhaps the feedback during this public hearing process would be anticipated. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Well, let me follow up on that, Vince, because we heard just a few minutes ago that the state grants us a lot of leeway as a home rule. Now you're saying 70% of this we don't have leeway.
Well, thank you for that clarification, Madam Mayor. our goal here is to follow the state. So what the state does is reflected in this document to the tune of, like I said, anecdotally, I didn't do the math, but about a 60-40 split.
Okay. All right, so I think Counselor Olson and I are probably in agreement here. We have one business owner here. I think if the business community or the nonprofits that do events throughout the year, if they were aware that we were having this discussion tonight, I think we'd have a full chambers. So we're not hearing from the people that are going to be impacted by this. So I think this is kind of half-baked on a first reading. I agree with Counselor Olson. I think we should table this and come back with the first reading once the business and the event community is aware of what we're doing and we have their suggestions. One business owner here had some very good suggestions. I'd like to hear from that, not taking away from all the time and effort you've put into it. And I understand following the state, and I understand that we need to have codes that, protect and serve and provide safety. But I don't have enough information from the people that are going to be impacted by these that I could vote for this tonight. So that's my 2 cents. Councilor Folt.
Thank you. It was mentioned a little bit on there on the approach that we take with how we communicate and that first touch. If the first touch is too heavy-handed, it's going to set people off. And we saw that with our utility bill as well. And we've actually made some adjustments with our utility bill where somebody that's been paying their bill religiously for 35 years, and then for some reason something happened in the mail, their check still went out at the same time, but then they got the nastygram saying, you suck and we're going to turn your power off, or whatever that thing said. But it definitely, that first touch shouldn't be the heavy-handed aspect. The other reason why I was asking about that kind of one-stop shop type of thing is kind of where you can have child-parent type of forms that when they click the box, it populates. So they can populate it all in one fell swoop. And looking at, and does our new IT software align with this to where we can actually automate this and make it seamless, where staff doesn't necessarily have to do it. You can build in automation that then the person could be out there and go, oh, I got to pay that, and it's 12 o'clock at night, but yet they can still log in and get it done. And so then this, and I've said it before, there are businesses out there and services out there that the harder it is to do business in a town or a city, those businesses actually put a pain in the butt fee on the rest of their products because we're not easy to work with. And so I want that to be in the thought process. If we're going to pull this jalopy off the side of the road and retool it, let's retool it with that in mind, of ease of doing business, where it's fast, it's quick, we can take payments quickly, seamlessly, and it's all integrated in, and then someone doesn't have to keep filling out the same basic information. It's saved under their own account under that business, and then that stuff just self-populates other forms that they have to file. So thank you.
All right, Councilor Sampson.
Okay, thank you. I am going to make a motion to amend our motion, which currently states a motion to approve on first reading ordinance number 6765, amending the Loveland Municipal Code by repealing and relocating Chapter 5.45 into Title 8 and updating to Title 8 concerning the licensing of alcohol beverages and tobacco products. My amendment will add to include state statute changes and to implement only the changes required by the state, and to then have community input should any additional changes be necessary at a later date. And I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. And the reason for that, the reason for my amendment is that I think we do need to implement the state statute changes that are required, but we need to have conversation. It sounds like, I think we probably are almost unanimous in wanting to have more conversation with our merchants in the community and kind of hear from them. So it sounds like 70% of this we could keep tonight, and the other 30, we probably need further discussion. So that's the reason for my motion.
And City Attorney, you're wanting to weigh in.
And Councilor Sampson, I sincerely appreciate the direction that is speaking through your motion. However, I'd recommend that you would amend or recall or withdraw your motion. I would not want to adopt an ordinance in piecemeal fashion. It's just not set up that way. I think what I'm hearing from the council is you guys need to go back and talk to the business community, obtain their feedback, and then clearly delineate for the council what is a state regulation that we are following and what is a state regulation that we're not following, and the one that we're not following, what is the replacement rule? And just being very clear about that delineation. I think I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads, and that's what we're looking for. And also, I think Councilmember Foley and a few others, just taking in the ease of the transaction as well for our business community. So I think with that feedback, if council just wants to table this, we'll come back at a later time with greater clarity and with the feedback that the council has articulated here tonight.
Well, in that case, thank you, City Attorney. Would you be willing to withdraw your second?
I'll withdraw my second.
I will withdraw my motion to amend, and I will instead make a motion to table to a date decided by our city manager for us to revisit this item.
Second.
Okay, is that comfortable with that motion? All right, any discussion on the motion to table to a later date? All right, roll call, please.
Councilor Olson has his hand up.
Oh, Councilor Olson, I don't know if tabling this.
I was going to comment on and basically argue for what is being done, so I'm ready to vote.
Okay, on tabling.
It's ready to vote.
Okay.
Lykovac?
Yes.
Sampson?
Yes.
Malo?
Yes.
Marsh?
Yes.
Olson?
Absolutely.
Foley?
Yes.
Swanty? Yes. Madam Mayor, the vote is 8 yes.
All right, thank you. The motion passes, and I do thank you all for all the time and effort you've put in this. We just need a little bit more information, so hear from our
I vote
community.
yes. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Councilor Black.
Thank you, Councilor Black.
We have our city clerk at the table in front of us, not in her normal position. Thank you. All right, again, thank you. We move on to our final agenda item, 9.2 from Finance, ordinance enacting a supplemental budget and appropriating to the Downtown Development Authority Project Fund $500,000 to finance and refinance Downtown Development Authority projects and programs. A motion to approve on first reading ordinance number 6766 and acting a supplemental budget and appropriating to the Downtown Development Authority Project Fund $500,000 to finance and refinance DDA projects and programs. Can I get a second, please? Second from Councilor Foley. All right, welcome Brian and Sean. We move on here. Take it away, please, when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Brian Waldes, Chief Financial Officer for the City of Loveland. I'm joined by Sean Hawkins, from the DDA, and Vincent Younglis is also here from Legal to explain what we're going to be talking about here, which is a renewal of the line of credit for the DDA. Council will recall that we had put this mechanism in place last year for 2024 in order to facilitate the debt mechanism that is a requirement for DDAs in the state of Colorado. So that's by way of introduction. So we'll get into our presentation here. Quickly, as kind of I just stated, what we're requesting is an approval to enact a supplemental appropriation to create this line of credit. Now, what's important to note as we go through this whole presentation, this line of credit in no way represents an expense on the part of the city. It's a mechanism, again, to facilitate debt access for the DDA so that when they spend their funds, okay, the funds that are already appropriated in the budget approved by council, when they appropriate funds out of their special fund 650, they're able to use this line of credit to create a debt arrangement with the city so they are in fact paying debt when they do things like facade grants or other different transactions they have with business owners in the city. So very important to remember, we do need a budget We do need to budget for expenditures, but that money actually never leaves the city. So that's what's important to remember. Why is this needed? This is needed because this is part of our partnership with the DDA, and like I just referenced in the state of Colorado, and City Attorney Younglis can explain it better than I can, DDAs are required to only expend funds to pay down debt. So that is what the line of credit is, right? It's a form of debt. So when Sean says, okay, it's time to pay a particular grant, let's say for $100,000 for a facade, then they would functionally borrow the money from the city and then pay it back the next day, and then they could then pay the actual recipient of the grant money. So it's a mechanism that's used elsewhere in Colorado, and again, it's something that we did have in place for 2024. This is just a renewal of that mechanism. This next slide shows how, it shows a couple things. It shows the history of what we've been using, of how long we've been using this mechanism. You can see this was initially approved in 2023. It was in place for 2024. And you can see that the City Council has also approved the amended DDA budget and provides for that same loan and draw function that you see kind of going back to the left. I feel like we're kind of missing a green arrow maybe to go back to that bottom square where the project fund would be replenished by the DDA. So again, it's very much, and I think this is how I explained it last year, if it kind of seems like a circle to you, and you're like, I don't really see the point of this, you're there. That's what this is. It is just kind of a circular transaction that creates the debt relationship necessary for the DDA to expend funds. There are limits and conditions on this mechanism to protect the city. The city and the City Council, I should say, does review the DDA budget. So again, something important to recall, there's nothing, that this will not facilitate any additional expenses beyond what council has already seen and approved in their 2025 budget. This is just a renewal of that line of credit. The DDA cannot requisition funds, well, kind of like I just said, unless they've already been budgeted by the city. And the IGA and the line of credit were an interim measure, as we've discussed, subject to annual review. Right here, I'll just say we've got great news. We're working with Sean and Wells Fargo, who's our new bank for the city. We're actually doing a big bank conversion right now. And Wells Fargo will be able to facilitate a line of credit with the DDA. So sooner than later, this arrangement will go away, barring any unforeseen delays. So this was always contemplated as a temporary measure. That's why we put it in with an annual renewal provision. And we're there. We've already got Sean in good talks with Wells Fargo, who will more than likely help them out with what they need. So some key changes to the mechanism for this year. You'll see the line of credit's been reduced from $1 million to $500,000. That's just a per transaction limit. We never had any transactions in 2024 that even approached that amount. So we're well within the amount we would need. Fund reimbursements are now going to be immediate by the DDA. The old mechanism allowed for a 7-day difference, but the fact of the matter is we process all those as the city, so it really kind of happens at the same time, simultaneously. And again, the effect of lowering the line of credit lowers the reserve amount required out of the power fund, which is good news. But again, nothing that would have, even at $1 million, it would not have impacted their operations at all. So I think this mechanism did what it was supposed to do for 2024. We need it for a little bit of 2025, but we are on the path that we were supposed to be on, which is a real line of credit with an outside institution, and we should have that done sooner than later.
All right.
With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Well, we start with public comment first now.
I'd be happy to listen to public comment first and then take any questions.
All right, we will open up public comment. Is there anyone in chambers who wishes to comment on this item?
Well, good evening, once again, everyone. Ward 2 Watchdog, Erin Barrett here. You know, a while back, I told Mr. Sean Hawkins that I liked some of the things the DDA was doing. I told him I wish he could have done them 40 years ago, and I've enjoyed some of the programs and things they've had down there. I would have actually paid to come down there and done some of those things. But you've heard the expression, the buck stops here. Now, I have been asking, what is the DDA going to do with $500,000? And I ask, where is this money going to come from? Simple enough. So I still haven't gotten a good answer to that. And then there's the question of how much does the DDA have right now? Well, from what I understand, there's several $1 million in the kitty in Fund 650 that I mentioned earlier. Well, what do they need another $500,000 for? If I go to a bank and say, hey, I want a loan for $500,000, don't they ask what you're going to do with it? And you can say, oh, I'm going to invest it. I'm going to start my own business and make $10 million and pay you back. Okay. What if I say, can I borrow $500,000 so I can go on a big drinking binge and get drunk for the rest of my life? Do you think you're going to get $500,000? Probably not. Now, clear back in 2023 when this agreement came up, at the July 25, 2023 council meeting, here's the service agreement. The DDA promised that they were going to deactivate Fund 602 from the General Improvement District. It was supposed to be a selling point for the new bid. That never happened, did it? They said, we're gonna hire police officers and have one full-time police officer, downtown police officer presence. And then Fund 602 from the General Improvement District, we're going to use it to build a new parking garage. Where is it? Where are the police officers? Why is the police kiosk still closed down at the Foundry? What has the DDA been doing for the last 2 years? Between the city and the DDA, I think you guys have laundered more money than a Colombian drug lord. What is going on here? Why don't you ask this to come back around and say you want a detailed, itemized description of what the DDA is going to do with the $500,000 or what they need to do and how much it's going to cost, and then maybe you will give them the money. It's not a loan. It can't be, because you can't take funds from the Power Fund and give it to another funding entity like the General Fund, can you? It's against the rules.
Thank you, Darren. Is there additional public comment?
Kathy Bullard, Ward 2. I'm excited when I have a couple of $5 bills in my billfold. The concept of 500,000 is a whole lot. My understanding, and I don't necessarily understand well, but it's, I think that it was each grant or whatever was up to 500,000. It was not, that is it for the year. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I would want to know in 2024, how many grants were they? How much were they for? And yeah, how many grants there were? That just makes sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there additional public comment from inside chambers? All right, not seeing any. Chad, do we have any phone-in public comment on this item?
Thank you, Mayor Marsh. Users, if you'd like to speak to this item, choose the raise your hand feature or press star 9 if joining by phone. Madam Mayor, I do not have any users with their hands raised.
All right, we'll close public. Councillor Olson, your hand has just been left on. Are you wanting to ask questions or speak now? You're muted. I know, he's trying.
Yeah, if we're at council questions, I just wanted to get on the queue for asking questions.
Okay, all right, then go ahead and start, and then it'll be Council Foley after you.
Okay, thank you. Well, first off, apparently Darren didn't have an opportunity to see your response, Brian, to his questions. Would you mind, because I think it'd be helpful for the public to hear it as well, to go through the 3 questions he asked in his email and your response? Would you mind doing that?
Not at all, Counselor. I'm just pulling up the email to make sure I get all of those questions.
And maybe you need to try another approach to explain how this, it's really not, the money's just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's a pass-through, but I'll let you try to explain that a little different way, maybe, or Sean.
Thank you, Counselor. So a couple things. Yeah, I think we reviewed in our brief presentation about this item that this doesn't represent any additional expenses, doesn't represent an actual expense on the part of the city, and what the money is being spent on, or I should say, the grants that this is facilitating or the expenses that the line of credit are facilitating are all in the budget. So they're all in the DDA budget that you receive every year. So there's no additional expenses being facilitated or additional programming being facilitated outside of the budget by the line of credit. The line of credit facilitates, rather, what's in the budget. So hopefully that can answer that question. And specifically, Councilor Olson, you had asked the 3 questions that were in the email. Question 1 is, what is the money, what is this money for? The line of credit doesn't provide any additional funds for the DDA, provides the DDA with the ability to create the debt necessary to meet operational obligations. Where does the money come from? The $500,000 sits as a reserve in the Power Fund balance. So that is an amount that now the Power Fund cannot go below. It can't go below a $500,000 fund balance, which it's not. We're obviously, we have a fund balance very much above that level. And how much money does the DDA have now? The fund balance for the TIF revenue in Fund 650 is $4.5 million at the end of 2024, pre-audit. So we have not been through the audit for the adjustments yet, but that was our projection for where the TIF dollars land. In order to use those TIF dollars, we need to have the line of credit. If Sean and the DDA, again, have a grant for $100,000 for a facade, is that a lot for a facade? Okay, that'd be a really nice facade. But just using that amount as an example, then that money would come from the Fund 650, right? But would need to go through the line of credit mechanism. Maybe that's a good example. Sean puts the $100,000 in his budget. It's time to write the check because the facade is done. We have to use the line of credit mechanism to get that money out of 650 and to the store owner. And that's it.
Councilor Olson, I think to the extent that it's helpful, I just want to reemphasize, and Brian's already stated this, the DDA statute is just sort of goofy. It requires that any expenditure of TIF dollars be through the creation of a debt. This revolving line of credit is exclusively to check that statutory box. That's what it's for. We create the debt, the special fund pays it back immediately. There's no additional funds, as Brian highlighted. So now, to the extent that that point is helpful, I offer it.
Thank you for that, Vince. And I understand, too, as well, if I think I heard this correctly, that, Sean, you anticipate, or maybe Brian said it, that you have a bank that is it has indicated their willingness to set up a line of credit with the DDA. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're currently speaking with Wells Fargo, who's now the bank for the city.
In which case this would completely disappear. Is that right?
Correct. This mechanism would go away.
Okay. And I've had a couple of emails from folks, and this is addressed to Sean. Sean, can you kind of explain the difference between this mechanism and the Hip Street project and your participation in that?
Councilor Olson, I'd be glad to do that. The Hip Street's debt, so the state statute says any debt that the DDA issues comes to council. So last November, when the certificates of participation came, that was the debt for Hip Street's. The real difference is that's a longer-term project. We do not have $12.5 million in our fund, so that's why we borrowed this 25-year issuance. The line of credit is really for the smaller projects that are paid out of our annual budget. So good examples, as Brian has mentioned, we've done, I don't know how many, probably 25 different facades in downtown. So when the facade is awarded by our board, the contractor or the property owner gets to work on it, and then when it's complete, meets our satisfactory terms that they did what they said they were going to do, then we would use this for the smaller projects. That's really what it is. It's for the things that are within the annual budget. So another example is we pay for flowers. We've got 40-plus flower planters all over 4th, 5th, 6th Railroad. We agree to a contract to fill those, come back, use the line of credit. So it's really for the smaller projects is what the line of credit is for, not the longer-term debts.
Mr. Barrett brought up, he was wondering what you've been doing for the past several years. Can you run through a list of the things that you've participated in or brought about down in downtown that really has made our city look great and had concerts and so forth? Can you kind of fill in the blanks?
I would be glad to. You know, we issued almost a 40-page annual report at the end of last year highlighting everything from partnerships with property owners, getting our Hip Streets project started. We do numerous events. We probably write more checks to local artists than anyone in this community, whether it be for a night on the town, whether it might be our Wednesday concerts. So it's a wide variety of things. But if you go to downtownloveland.org, there's a 40-page annual report just covering what we did last year. So I hope that helps.
It does for me, and I appreciate your hard work. Thanks, John.
All right, Councilor Foley.
Thank you. So, Brian, what is the estimated time frame of setting that line of credit up?
I would set that estimated time frame at months, Counselor.
Months as in like 3 months, 12 months, 18 months?
2 to 4.
2 to 4 months. So this is like right there, right on the horizon. So that being said, given the fact that we're right in the midst of Hip Streets and tearing everything up and all of that, what's the reality of really needing this right now when you could have your own line of credit here in a couple of months? Between now and that time frame, what's the real need?
I see McFall right in front of you, Councilor Foley. We have, I'm looking at your name tag. We have obligations that we have now. So in this kind of 4-month gap from when the first version expired, to this point, we have obligations for property owners that have completed facade work that are looking to me saying, Sean, when will I be paid? So I want that reputation. We've been able to pay any grants that have come to us pretty quickly. As I just mentioned, our board agreed yesterday to go ahead and pay for all the flowers that we plant all over downtown. I mean, it's $28,000. It's not a huge amount of money, but that's the type of draw we do from our line of credit. So we need this to meet our obligations now.
So your estimation of between now and 4 months is how many thousands of dollars of debt that you need to issue?
I would say maybe 250, somewhere in that range.
Okay. So going down to 250 from 500. But then the other question I have is it possible to issue a one-time debt to the city or to the DDA to fund its own line of credit?
Counselor, we've put a lot of thought into this mechanism. We're pretty confident this is the most efficient and smoothest way to do it. I'm not exactly sure what you just asked in terms of advancing money to the DDA and then making it all a loan all at once. That would involve actually expending funds out of the fund balance, which is something we've crafted this to avoid. So what we've put in place
here
is...
what I'm saying is, they're going to give a $100,000 grant to a facade, right? They say, hey, Power Fund, fund this $100,000 grant, and then they turn around and pay it, right? That's the round robin circle that we see. Now, if they say, hey, instead of a $100,000 facade grant, I say, I want to fund a $500,000 line of credit. Issue the debt, it's paid. Now you have a $500,000 line of credit in a box that they can use whenever the heck they need it. And we're done with this. And they funded it.
I think you might have just described what we're doing.
No, what we're doing is we're pulling it out of the power every time, and we're leaving this thing open instead of closing the loop, taking and funding that box with their money. It's now their money that they've collected, it's funding it, and it's running its own line of credit for their own stuff to complete that transaction. So why couldn't we do that? If we can write a check to Jimmy, Sue, and Tom for their facade, why couldn't we write a check to Joe's line of credit company?
Yes.
City Attorney, go ahead.
Councilmember Foley, I think one of the, and I appreciate the thought there. So Jim and I, when we were just talking here, I think one of the challenges that's missing from the analysis is this revolving line of credit, right? So I think what you're proposing is the city take $500,000 from somewhere.
The DDA.
Well, if it's.
You only have to do this transaction one time.
Well, keep in mind, those funds can only be utilized.
I understand.
Okay.
Let me explain it here, because I'm gonna do your little box here, all right? So, our water and power are funding this thing, right, for $500K. They do a facade debt for $100K, right?
Okay.
This is the DDA. They say, all right, we'll give you $100,000. So he's got $100,000 in debt, and then it's covered here and it's paid here. Now, instead of it going as a facade, it goes into a line of credit account that creates the debt. It's covered by this one time. It's paid for. It's done. Now they can use this directly instead of our water and power fund, and it cleans this whole mess up.
Well, Counselor, if I may, I think what you're suggesting is kind of just advance the 500,000 or whatever amount, so that it's
only
kind
have
of
to do it one time, because then
Right.
the DDA's 500,000 of debt would then be funding their own line of credit. It's like a self-paid credit card. When you're brand new and you don't have a credit card, and they say, look, if you got $500, you can get your own credit card and start building up your own credit that way.
Well, if I may, as it's contemplated now and as it's been set up for the last year or so, it's been very efficient. The entries are easy to do. When Sean makes a draw request, we have the funds ready by the next day. It's not difficult at all, so we're not really looking for a brand new way to do it. I feel like we're kind of solving problems that don't exist. The line of credit has been very efficient. We haven't had any operational problems. Both sides were happy with it. We just need to renew it for a little while. It was always meant to be temporary, so that's why we're talking with Wells Fargo. So really, it's working really well. I think I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like, hey, pre-lend it so that the money is already in the form of a debt reimbursement, so then the DDA can pay from that. But that's functionally what we're doing. And it hasn't had any operational barriers. I haven't heard anything from our accounting staff or accounting manager that this has been a problem. And it's been working well for the DDA, I believe. So
But it has to come in front of council and burn council time for something that could have been done.
Yeah, this could have been 10 minutes. Yeah, I agree with you.
Self-sufficiently. So I would like to make a motion to go ahead and drop that from 500,000 to 250,000. If you only need it for more than 4 months, then let's drop it down to $250,000.
You have a motion to amend.
A motion to amend to 250,000.
Not hearing a second.
Okay.
Councilor Mallow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Gentlemen, what did we do before we came up with this mechanism?
before we had this mechanism, we had an overlap of a URA plan in downtown and a DDA. So we were, the DDA fund, Fund 650, we never spent a nickel of it. So we had no reason at that time. Once the URA plan went away, 23? Yeah, 23, then we had only one TIF district in downtown. So that's why this came.
So I remember some meetings, some conversations. One of the reasons for this mechanism, if not the main reason for the mechanism, is to pay operations type items directly, more quickly, more efficient for our downtown merchants. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it worked that way, right?
Yeah, this arrangement is working fine. And honestly, this is the same arrangement the Fort Collins DDA used with their city for almost 15 years. Last almost 12 years, they've been using First National Bank. So it's a pretty common mechanism amongst DDAs, not only here locally, but throughout the state.
And Sean, are you fully comfortable with 500,000?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, it's enough.
You put a lot of thought into it, if I remember right. So, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Counselor Olson, did you have another question or comment?
I did. I just wanted to address Councilor Foley's concern. This is the use of the funds, it's like, okay, we're going to use funds in this reserve for like a day or two, because the check's going to be written one day and then it's going to be reimbursed the next. And it's really, it's not taking funds out of water and power. It's a line of credit. You draw on it and then you pay it back. And in this case, the payback's really quick because it's just to satisfy the requirements of the DDA statute that we have to go through this and jump through these hoops to do this. So I'm not supportive of reducing the amount. It's unnecessary. And I'm not in favor of trying to make dramatic changes to something that's worked. If it's not broke, let's not try to fix it.
All right. A motion to approve on first reading ordinance number 6766, enacting a supplemental budget and appropriating to the Downtown Development Authority Project Fund $500,000 to finance and refinance DDA projects and programs. Roll call, please.
Lycovach?
Yes.
Swanty? Yes. Olson?
Yes.
Marsh?
Yes.
Black?
Yes.
Malo?
Yes.
Foley?
No.
Sampson?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, the vote is 7 yes to 1 no vote.
Thank you. The motion passes. Thank you, Sean and Brian. City manager report. Jim, do you have any report for us tonight?
No, Madam Mayor.
City attorney report.
I actually do, Madam Mayor, but I'll be very, very brief.
Okay.
I was asked by a member of the public, I believe, at the last meeting. I've been unable to get a hold of that individual member. I asked for a sort of timing update on both the leak investigation and then a comment on whether or not we are, quote-unquote, finished with the Title VII harassment complaint involving Chief Doran and Councilmember Black. So I'll start with the leak investigation. I don't feel comfortable going into the details, particularly in public. However, I have spoken with the investigator, and he anticipates wrapping that investigation up this month. So hopefully I'll have something for the council available. I'll disclose it to the council first, obviously, towards the end of the month. And then on the second question that was asked, that being sort of the status of the Title VII harassment complaint, I think it's fair to characterize it at this juncture that it is resolved. The city took its corrective action, and we're moving on. Certainly, though, the parties involved, we've communicated with them regarding their responsibilities and what the city plans to do in terms of ensuring Title VII is upheld and also ensuring Councilwoman Black has the right to criticize the police department to the extent that she sees fit, or praise the police department, comment as she will. But so the issue is fundamentally completed at this time.
All right, appreciate.
Could I ask for follow-up
Okay.
about that? And what about the, maybe I already missed it, Kathy Haddock?
Yes. Once again, also, I can't really go into too much detail there. I can tell you, I've been in touch with Ms. Haddock, and she's actively working on it. I would anticipate that she is finished within the next month as well.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Seeing nothing further to come before council, we are adjourned. Safe travels home.